We're getting that
That's a
on.
secret.
Hey, I'll stand by it. Good on, kid.
Oh, am I allowed to talk now?
If you want to be recorded.
Oh, Bob,
Hmm.
it's not working.
What, the camera?
Yeah. It says it's working, but it's not popping up. Yes, that's.
There's a young man, I don't know if he's there, you can't actually see him. He's dancing in front of the memorial over there.
Yes, I know.
Oh,
I've seen him a lot.
looks like he's a drum major with
Yeah,
music
he's got
playing.
some, yeah, I was like,
With the
okay.
stick?
Yeah.
I like his energy at this hour. I mean, I don't.
I haven't seen him this late, obviously, but so I'm surprised to see him.
I'm sorry.
This is the first time I'm seeing it.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to log on. I don't know. Okay.
I'm trying. I can't fix everything.
Here he says we're live, all right?
Bob, I don't know.
Well,
You might have to
your problem is
improvise.
just that camera, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just not connected. You might have to improvise here, Bob. And that's the quality.
You look sharp.
Just kind of.
Bob, can I use your assistance?
So, it's a very light, but it's very small. It's a very light one.
No, I can't help you there. Yes, you're a little confused. Here in a while, so. Yeah, no, I'm great. That's why I saw her. Better or not. At this point, everything else is going up. So over that. Private vehicle. Yep. I got one of those.
Oh, there it is.
Hello. You have to improvise here, so you might be surrounded by some wires here. The camera's just not connected.
I promise not to knock them down.
It's magic for tonight.
What's that?
No one can get over here.
Well-
Hold on. Who you
Who's got the chalk?
Well, if it's your body.
Okay, I'll lay down and you can. run the
Camera didn't work on me, that's why we're improvising.
Or it's ready, but that's just one.
Oh, please.
Just throwing it out there.
Repeat it?
Oh, these guys were over here for how long this afternoon? A couple hours? At least an hour?
My schedule.
And they had it working. They were at Jen's desk, and I could hear it. I could hear
I don't think this.
No, but this is the format we're following. Yeah, that's basically what you're gonna be.
But this is the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. This just has,
Actual adopted.
yeah.
Okay, bye. How are you?
Watching video again today.
Oh, nice.
I did come prepared with this pen.
Probably have.
No, I actually did this time.
Oh, you
Oh,
did?
you did.
Yeah, you prepared.
I broke my streak of 2 meetings in a row. Did you see my video?
Yeah, right in the middle. It's a great little improvise there.
Oh, I know. I agree, I agree, I agree.
Not working in my favor today.
Sorry, every time I walk in a room, like I would feel like I've done everything wrong in life. With those eyes right there. Those eyes.
Have you?
Liz, go ahead.
Takes
I don't
years
know
to
if you're
perfect that
afraid of
stare.
police, but I've never been afraid of police.
I'm not afraid of
I got it
police,
from my
just
mother.
those eyes, those eyes. Uh-huh.
I settled down in the crowd.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna buy this room a clock pretty soon, because I keep missing.
Oh,
there's no
yeah,
clock
what,
there.
we had 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, it was up there.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what happened to it. It just needed a battery. It's one of those.
Mhm.
Next time I go to Ocean State, I'll donate it to the library.
What's Sean?
Just don't trip. Wires cord right here.
Okay, thank you.
And cord.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, when they come with the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. This is our second of 3 workshops, and we are going to begin with the police department. And Chief Bush and Julia Smith, our treasurer, will lead us through it.
Okay, just like last time, if you were here or not, I'll just explain the worksheet and then we'll go line by line. So on the worksheet itself, the first sheet that you'll see is for the police department. That first column is what was submitted for that expense account for our 2021 AUD. That was the one that just passed. The 2022 adopted is what we had budgeted for that account. Our January 31st, 2022 year-to-date actual, that was what was spent. And then we have the 2022 projected, and that just takes in some variables into consideration to kind of foresee where I see that account being at the end of this fiscal year. That last column there is a detail, a little bit more detail than last time, but detail of the requested expenses for this account. So it's just starting off, we do have the personnel services, which includes the salary of the police department. That is full-time, part-time, and crossing guards, as well as the chiefs. One of the major increases I have here is actually increasing the amount of overtime that the police department has. And that's because I've seen in previous years, as well as I foresee for this year, is potentially having to pull from a different account to finish off the year without over encumbering or overexpending that account. So all that to be said, we did boost that about 60,000 this year, if at all possible, to account for any overages and overtime.
Should we ask questions now or later?
We can go line by line if you have questions. I do want to also point out that we are in the middle of union negotiations. So we don't know where that will end, leave us, but we do want to put some sort of cushion in there in case we can negotiate a certain percentage of increase.
So Mayor, what do you want to do? Ask questions? I have a question about overtime, but should we do it later?
No, you might as well do it
Just
now.
wondering what the cause for so much overtime is that, are we short-staffed and therefore we need to use the other staff more? Or?
We are a little bit short-staffed right now. We have it out there to hire a couple part-timers. Excuse me, I've interviewed one so far. He's going on his packet that I will be presenting to the board. Another cause of the overtime has been sickness. We had 4 out 2 weeks ago with COVID. So that type of, and that's been an ongoing thing. I have 17 guys, so 4 out at once creates a huge amount of spaces to fill.
So that part hopefully will get better with the COVID going away a little bit. I'm just wondering why we would increase the overtime from last. Is it equaling what we spent last year, basically?
Well, my projected for this year is a 578. That's with the current staff that we have. One thing to consider this year is I'm not sure where the county fair is. Last year it was reduced down compared to previous years, but that is one cause of a lot of overtime. The union contracts also do specify certain scheduling of overtime and what we have to pay out for overtime for a scheduled shift. Anything in excess of, I believe, 12 hours would be considered overtime in a single shift. And it's not to say that I increased overtime, but increased the budget to account for overtime.
And of course, if there are, salary increases, then the overtime goes up too.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fair, do we receive any revenue for them to cover?
No, we do not.
We do not. Because that's,
Never have, never will. We've tried several times to have them try to compensate us, but they are an entity within inside the village limits. It is our responsibility to police them.
Mhm.
Any further questions on requested personnel services?
I mean, how many hours is 60,000 extra dollars? of overtime?
Depends on what type of person you're talking about. For instance, full-time police do have a different hourly rate than part-time. Of course, if full-time police do get the overtime, that is, I believe, a $6 or $7 increase compared to the part-time individuals. But if you take $7 into potentially, I don't know, 20, 30 hours, especially when you're considering holiday overtime at the 2.5 times rate, it can very well amount to 60,000. Again, this is kind of more so me covering all potential instances of overtime. Not to say that there will be $60,000 or $70,000 more overtime this year, but I have noticed for last year, we did have to pull from some of the major projects that they had budgeted for to account for overages and payroll.
Well, this budget is a conservative budget.
This is, just requested at this point, so.
Yeah.
That 578,000 projected includes all the money you've drawn over from other accounts?
Nope, not this time. This 578 is just projected based off of, an average of the payroll so far from June, up until January, end of January. So taking their hourly or their weekly payroll and kind of accounting for it for the remainder of the year, that's where I get the
It
578.
doesn't include the funds that you drew from other places?
Nope, I haven't done any of that this year, just because.
Oh, you did? I thought
No,
you said you just did.
No, previous years, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Last
sorry.
year, for instance, I believe we had to take about $5,000 or maybe even $10,000 just to cover that year. And again, it was a COVID year, so there wasn't many overtime instances, I should say, based off of the fair. The fair is a real big overtime budget killer, basically.
Really? How much?
Weekly payroll for the police, gross payroll is about $9,000 to $10,000. In the fair week, it can, range upwards of $15,000, $17,000.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm still not sure why it's going up so much because it's this other, because compared to previous year, you're just being conservative.
Yeah, at this point, it's just a requested budget. If, we have to refrain or rein in that account, then we will. It's just my way of trying to account for any potential of overtime in the payrolls, so we don't have to pull from a different account.
If you compare it to the 2021, it's not
It's
that
pretty
much.
in line,
Yeah, it's not that much.
especially when we're not taking into consideration any of the union increases,
Right, that's true.
which we have to do. So. So going down to equipment, if we're all set with that, we do have a few things on here. One of them that is on there as municipal lease number 1. As you know, that was budgeted for this year, and we have ordered the vehicle probably about 6-7 months ago, and we still have yet to receive it. So that could potentially be the second payment for next fiscal year, or it could be the first payment. But we are budgeting $10,000 for that regardless of when we receive that.
Mhm.
Municipal lease number 2, this is a requested vehicle that if you want to explain a little bit more about, you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, every year, that I come before this board and say that I need a car. If you look at the sheet that I gave you there, it's pretty evident that they don't last forever. So in line with what, you folks have been talking about for forever, and us too, the need to replace equipment is front and center. So, yeah.
And I will just kind of explain a little bit more about the increased yearly payment for what we're projecting for that one or requesting for that one. One of the difference between the one that we have ordered is that it's not a police outfitted vehicle. With that being said, I think we had a discussion about it a few months ago when we did order the one that's pending right now. That can be upwards of $10,000 to $12,000 to outfit a vehicle, while if we do a municipal lease for the second vehicle, we would get all that included minus, pinstriping and labeling or stickering of the additional vehicle. And that should be hopefully included in the 15,000 that we have. So vehicle and outfitting of the police equipment.
Does that make sense to fold it into the lease instead of paying for those added, straight out? And then
don't. I will say, and I'll take the fire department, for instance, you know, they doubled the price from what they originally quoted us for.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just the preference thing. I'd rather have it in the payment than,
Stretch
you
it
know,
out.
yeah.
Okay,
Especially when it wasn't accounted for, just like this year. We had a $10,000 payment that we'll have to come up with if we take delivery of the vehicle this year, and now we'll have to come up with the $9,000 to outfit it. And we already went over that once this was an issue, but it's a little bit harder to grasp when you don't have it budgeted for than when it is. And then the last two pieces of equipment that's requested is for a camera system and computers.
Yeah,
For me to be specific.
okay, yeah, the camera system that I'm requesting is a part of the physical security for the police department itself. With the new police reform and discovery, we're being asked now to videotape everything we can. That includes inside the station. We have a camera system now that is totally inadequate. It goes on and off, and it doesn't record when it's supposed to record. It's just not functioning properly. So what I'm requesting is a night camera system, rough cost around 15. That includes 8 cameras, and that would satisfy everything that we would need to provide to either the district attorney or defense attorney. And it also provides us physical security for parts of the building that need to be under surveillance. The weapons room, the evidence room, and our parking lot.
if you relocate, can those cameras be taken with you?
If you have a screwdriver, yes.
Good. Just asking.
I don't have one, so do you want to put that down?
Add it in, just,
So who installed that? Does that include install, or you guys install it?
We could install, but we would definitely ask for help with DPW.
but internal.
They run wires through that building in very unique ways that I couldn't even go into. So. And the second thing there, you'll see computers. We have three desktop computers that our IT guy, Jeff, who is the village IT guy as well, says that we need to have replaced in order to come up to the standards that our systems operate. We have several different systems that we operate, SGS, the track system, all the state systems run off of a specific. I'm not a computer guy.
Also,
I'm really
they-
good with solitaire, but
You just had a new server
New server.
this past year, or maybe even the year before, and just to communicate with that server there, it's suggested to get new computers for the 3 desks that they do.
How old are the existing ones?
2 years.
You
Not
can't
just one.
remember?
no, I can't remember. It's been a while.
I do believe, just based on the communications I had with our IT, he said it was a struggle even to get them connected to the new server, just because they
Well,
are
just one
running
thing.
older systems.
Sounds like, yeah.
Are we all set with the equipment? Okay. You're not proposing any building improvements for this next fiscal year. If you do notice, though, in the 2022 adopted, there was 1,000 in there that was to move a wall, but it's actually being held because of course handling the records management, and that's occupying the room at this moment.
And it's in their budget.
Yeah, it's in their budget.
There's, yeah,
Well, yeah,
right. Okay.
He needs to vacate my space, and then I can occupy it and spend that 1,000.
Next on that list is the uniforms. As per contract, we do have to pay out for uniforms. For full-time and part-time, there is a difference of costs. I believe it's 650 and 950, but don't quote me on that one.
925 and 625.
Okay, there we go. Per employee, we are kind of trying to request more for that in case, police members go, more police members are hired, vice versa. Per the contract, they can take that uniform allowance, obviously with them if they do leave. So that's the reason for the increase there.
Do you have much turnover?
Yes, no,
No.
yes. It depends it depends. Right now I have guns available and I have shifts available.
Okay. No, but I meant, number of
We-
employees is turning over.
In the last 6 months, probably not, but next 6 months, I could lose 3 people.
Okay.
Does that amount of money include like just a holding of enough for uniforms in case something gets torn up or in the line of duty? Or is that?
Yeah, it's a contractual thing through the collective bargaining agreement that for uniforms and personal equipment. If they need a new gun belt, if they need new shirts or shoes or whatever, we supply the holsters and we supply the gun and the badge, and that's it. So everything else has to be supplied by the individual through this fund.
Okay.
Also, to kind of answer your question there, if a personal belonging does get damaged in in their work schedule, in the line of duty, we do have to replace it for their contract.
That doesn't happen very often.
I've seen one over the last 3 years, yeah. Are we all set with that line? Okay, going on to contractual, so all other expenses. We have an IT contract, again, that's with the same IT provider as the village. Based off of history, it is per hour that we do get charged, but 3,000 should cover for them for the year, especially if we do have the new computers so they can remote in, it'll be less time. Utilities, this is specific to like street and stop signs, I believe, not the building overall. The 1750 should cover that, even with the increased rise of utilities.
Someone stopped me in the street and said that there's a lot of street signs that are not legible. They're just totally faded out. Is that going to cover any of that, or is that
No, this is
DPW?
just the
That's
utility.
This is a utility to keep the lights on the school zone signs that light
Oh,
up.
those, I was wondering what kind of signs we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
DPW. it's
Yeah, I
in their
figured that was
budget.
DPW when you said signs. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Next we have phone and internet. This includes just the regular phone. They do have air cards for their vehicles, so their equipment can run, as well as some cell phones and internet for the building. 6,500 should encompass all of that. Fuel, 15,000, as you know, fuel's rising quite a bit, so hopefully that should hold out. I don't know anymore. Especially because.
What are you estimating? Because I mean,
For this year,
what kind of price per gallon?
yeah. For this year,
Okay.
it's really hard to guess at this point, just because it has risen, what, about 80 cents in the last week. I really don't know.
No, I meant these numbers here. What did you use as your
Based off of history, so,
did you up it?
I did.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Has anyone done research on electric police vehicles? Is a possibility. I mean, it's the future at some point, but
We'd have to have a charging station.
yeah.
They do make them.
Is it worth exploring with the gas going, or? Yeah.
Yeah.
Prejudice against them?
As long as it gets an officer from point A to point
Right,
B
right.
where they need to be, then
Well,
we can go back to horses, but
I mean, in general, the village is a good size for electric vehicles. You're not going, do you go far afield often, like beyond the village?
only when we request it, or we're doing a follow-up investigation outside the village on something that happened inside the village.
Right.
You're
not going to Albany.
But generally, no. Well, we do go to Albany when we bring evidence down to the state police lab or.
I mean, it's something to think about transitioning over as we buy or lease vehicles to at least explore the possibility of electric vehicles. They are definitely, the pricing is, the price of the fuel is more stable than gas, as we've seen, you know, you won't have, although I guess your utility
the
rate has gone up
utilities have
too.
gone up.
ridiculous
Well,
quite a bit.
most of the local electric generation plants use fossil fuels. So they're affected by the fuel rate.
Yeah, although town of Ballston is gonna get this huge influx of community solar that maybe we can tap into perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's something to think about.
Yeah. Just some of
It
the
could be more
cities are-
affordable. I mean, in general, electronic vehicles are less maintenance, more affordable in terms of fuel and just the maintenance, so.
Yeah.
um,
Some of the cities are, you know, they're basically committing that within 5 years, our fleet will be all electric.
Basically, the way I look at it is that when somebody calls for police, they don't care if we come on a
Right,
bicycle.
right.
So,
What I guess I would be worried about is the performance characteristics that you may require as an electric vehicle capable of doing that.
well, one of the advantages that we have is the fact that we are small in
Size.
square mileage.
Right.
And we don't generally have to go 110 to a call. We go fast, but probably we're not gonna go as fast as a car, that electric car can go, but.
It's very good, it actually handles very well, electric cars. The key is obviously we have to get a.
You have one?
I know people have one. I
I
don't
was
have.
gonna say, if you want to let us borrow it for a week, we'll put some basis and see if it works.
That'll be my next car. But obviously we need an electric charging station in-house before we do that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming then if they requested additional vehicles, something that you could probably look into to see the costs.
Correct.
Yeah, but again, we'd want to get the charger station right next to the police station before we release the electric car, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah,
or somewhere.
that might be an issue with
So,
the
not this
footprint of the building, putting in an electric charging station.
Well, especially if we're moving. Anyway, just something, yeah, it's not for now, but just something
Yeah, I
like the
mean,
next time you think about
particularly
it.
if there is a move,
Right.
it may make more sense.
Okay, going on to repair and maintenance, I do have 15,000 in for that. This year, the way the numbers are trending, we probably won't meet that unless an engine blows up. Honestly, then we'll surpass it, which has happened recently too.
What blows up?
Engine,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that happened this past year, not the year before,
2020.
2020.
So the repair and maintenance is just for more catastrophic repairs. It's not just for
it-
regular maintenance.
Maintenance,
Kind of encompasses
Everything.
anything,
Everything.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Oil changes, tires.
Yep. It also can include just repairing their offices, honestly, you know, any wood materials, whatever that they might need because of a door fell off the hinges like we just had the other day, so.
Understood.
Going down is supplies. I do have 9,000 requested for that. 2,000 is in ammo, and that's pretty consistent with prior years. Another increase for that though is for office chairs. It was requested that they have.
Yeah, I mean, every single piece of equipment over at the police department, be it a desk, a table, filing cabinet, or a chair, has been donated secondhand. We've never had anything new brought into that department. And if you've been in that department, you can
Sounds
attest to
familiar.
that. And you know what, if we have one person that has a dedicated chair, it's going to have it at his height and at his lumbar set and all that, and that's great. I got 17 guys coming through the door, sitting in these chairs all over the place. They get a lot of use, and quite frankly, I don't want to see one of my officers get hurt because that chair folds out from underneath them. And again, the chairs we have are donated secondhand. So,
The ammo, assuming mostly you don't shoot that ammo at people, but that's mostly for training. Would you say training is where?
no, we
that
shoot
is?
people.
One person, two people, $2,000 worth of ammo.
Question, probably.
Give me the look. No, but really, that if you get $2,000 of ammo every year, it's mostly for training. I would say.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
One would
Okay.
hope.
We are to do firearms training twice a year. When we put our officers through it, it's approximately 700 to 900 rounds an officer. And that adds up really quickly.
Next is just membership dues and software, $3,000 should cover all that. And then last, we do have special contracts, and Dave, you can kind of explain that a little bit more, but the county does provide us with a payment for DWI services, and that has actually been reduced from prior years based off of COVID. I don't think they're having as many,
Yeah.
I don't want to say events, but
Well, there's two types of reimbursement from the county for DWI. One comes through the county DWI program itself, and that's just $4,500. We get 2 checks a year that usually totals the $4,500. It did not this year, it's much less.
I will say it's usually
$1,500.
about 3,500 twice a year, so it's usually about 7,000. But this last check that we did get was only for 1,000. So I think that, I mean, we potentially might have to reduce that to 2,000, seeing, you know, the trend of this last payment, but I'm seeing that COVID's kind of going hopefully down. That activity might pick
There's
up.
just no way to tell what we're going to receive from them. This money is supposed to be used for DWI purposes or anything that relates to DWI purposes. Buying a new breathalyzer, buying new Alka-Seltzers for the side of the road, traffic vest for working out at night, things like that, or payroll for doing a DWI checkpoint or detail. We also receive when we can do it throughout the year, they'll have special EWI funds available for St. Patrick's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Super Bowl, things like that. But that's usually around the average that we've been offered is less than 1,000, no more than $700 most of the time. And that's for a specific period of time. But we have to alert them to the fact that whether we're going to use that or not. And if we're not, they reallocate it to some other
So
department.
is that a revenue or an
It
expense?
is both a revenue, yes, and this
So
would
it's
be the
offset.
matching, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You're spending it on DWI, but you're gonna get the
Correct.
funds from your
Correct.
revenue.
Yep.
Okay.
And of course, those special DWI details that are determined whether we can do them or not, if we have people available to do them.
That's all we have for this department. If there's anything else?
Not for me. Are you, I know there's some money for body cameras, but that you said is a storage issue. I mean, just
Or
to,
that as state funding or federal funding.
So I've been looking into that because everybody's looking into that.
yeah,
It has not become a mandate yet. A lot of people are holding out for the fact that hopefully it doesn't. I'm not opposed to body cameras. I'm opposed to what they cost.
yeah.
We have a quote here from 2 different places. This is the, and I believe I mentioned this during the department, whatever we called it. Yeah.
Budget
Annual
meeting.
Report,
Report,
right.
yeah.
The sheriff's department's going with a system. If we went with that same system at the low end, it would be $33.83 a year total with a 5-year contract. So every year you pay $33.83. The next one I have.
What do you mean by low end?
Well, there's 2 different options available through Axon, and that's the company that the sheriff is dealing with. One option is the body camera with unlimited storage and a taser. The other is the body camera and all the accessories to it. And the storage notates it. But that would be the low end.
Okay. Now, does this, the 3383 include the storage of the information? So it's not that, really that much to, this would be to out, how many cameras would you,
This would be based on 17 cameras
really?
at $199 per month per officer.
Do you need, they can't use,
No,
they gotta be per person,
yes.
okay.
Do we know if the state or feds can help with that, or we don't know?
We don't know. There's nothing right this minute for body cameras, excuse me, for departments, either through Homeland Security, which would be the ones who oversaw the federal grant
Yeah.
program for that, or the state.
Yeah, I mean, probably it would be like most grants, it would pay for the equipment,
But not this,
not
not the,
the, whereas
right.
this might be more reasonable. It's all packaged into one, and you probably could not get a grant.
Right,
To
especially
cover
because of
this.
the software and the cloud
Yeah.
storage.
Just a quick one with Bright. We use Bright for our vehicle, in-vehicle computer system. For the keyboards and the computer itself and all that stuff. Just for storage alone for the department for 1 year would be $9,000.
So that's the big ticket.
Yes,
Not the
That's
yes.
cameras, it's the
Mhm.
storage.
That's huge. And it,
But
one of the problems comes from, let's say we had an incident that needed to be retrieved. We need to have somebody sitting down with that, bringing that out of the storage, viewing not just the incident, but everything before the incident and everything after the incident. And if we have an 8-hour shift, that's somebody sitting down for 8 hours watching a body cam footage.
So, but this would have the storage in it, but still somebody would have to review the.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have
We'd
a-
still need a maintenance
I
officer.
have a security system and I have to review.
Yep.
One at a time. Someone goes in the driveway and see someone went in the driveway, erase it. It's time consuming.
And that, I mean, that's a good point. Can you ever erase this stuff?
Can't,
So you have to, so not only,
it
you have
has to
to
stay,
store, it, right,
has to stay. I retrieved a file from 1998 that was requested by an attorney. So, yeah, I mean, you and I have had these discussions way back in the day about our storage up there. We have to keep it. We never know when somebody's going to die as a result of an accident 30 years ago.
Okay.
thank you. very
All set?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you
Also,
very
thank you for letting
much.
me go first, so I go home.
Well, after the last meeting, I made sure I had dinner before.
Hopefully not until 10 again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We'll learn something each time.
Next.
Chief Crow?
There's police tape there, sir.
I know I crossed it.
Mind if I open up with a couple minutes just to clear up some misconceptions with the fire department? And I've never met Trustee Baskin to get you familiar maybe with our district. If you don't mind, Mayor?
No, sure. Go right ahead.
So the Ballston Fire Department protects the served areas of town of Milton, town of Ballston, and the village limits. When we respond to any situation in the areas of town of Milton, I just want to point out taxpayers are paying 86 cents per thousand of their assessed value on the property. for our services.
Mhm.
When we respond to a situation in town of Ballston, taxpayers are paying $1 per thousand of the assessed value of their property for our services.
Mhm.
And then when we respond here in the village limits, taxpayers are paying minimal to nothing per thousand of their assessed value of property for our services that we provide. I do understand that, and the mayor did clarify the other day in our meeting that the village does give us $20,000. They pay for insurance of the buildings. And I believe the trucks as well. Now, if you equate that to the assessed value property of this village, equates to about half a penny in value. Okay. So with that said, we have in the past and to this day continued to make repairs and updates to the village-owned firehouses using the town's taxpayers' monies. Which makes me ask the question at times, since both supervisors have asked me, how can we continue to pull money from public safety to maintain the village buildings? And I really don't have an answer for them. So in summary, the towns are supporting the fire department with taxpayers' dollars to provide protection and response to their residents of their respective communities. In 2 years, the town's fire contracts are going to expire, which I'm worried because I feel that we're probably gonna have some money cut now from the towns because of this. And such a cut in budgets would have an impact. It would have placed restraints on firefighting purchases and would ultimately place higher cost on the village. I really feel, Mayor, that change needs to happen now, because if it doesn't happen now, it's going to reflect in the future on the village and the residents themselves. Okay.
Didn't we just sign another contract with the town of Ballston recently?
It's in process. I'm hoping to, it is with the attorneys, and I'm hoping that it's taken a long time to work it out, and I'm hoping that we will have it. I just spoke to our attorney this morning, who spoke to the town of Ballston attorney, and we're hopeful that maybe we will have something for the meeting on Monday night.
And they're up in 2 years.
And that's
And
a
they're
2
gonna
year.
then be-
They
Correct.
remain in sync.
They
Right.
made in sync, so they could, yes.
But
And
that's
they'll
2
both be
years.
the same.
I'm sure those
same.
two towns will be working together
Well,
to work it out.
Yeah, I
To
think
pay
they
the
both
same.
want
Except if they
$1.
try to go to a 3 or 5 year contract.
mhm.
Is that to start?
Thank you for that.
Okay, the fire department does have several departments within its department. First off being the fire chief. As we know, we do have the 4 chiefs for both fire departments, and some of their expenses are encompassed in this. The first being the personnel services salary. This is the bookkeeper, as we call them, part-time bookkeeper. They do a lot more than that, and if we have any questions, you can ask Kevin. This is a proposed increase from last year. I believe we bumped that up $1,000 for the year requested.
How much is that an hour, or is that more?
Salary,
hours?
so
Salary for the
Oh,
year.
okay.
I couldn't afford an hourly.
all set with that one. Going on to equipment. The first line there is for the 2 chief's vehicles that we currently have. We just took delivery on both of them this year. So for next year, it would be payment 2 of the 5-year municipal lease that we have with them. So that is just reflected in that first line. The second line there is going to be another municipal lease that they're requesting for a new Tahoe to replace that last chief's vehicle, which, as you can see on there, is a 2010 Tahoe.
Over 150,000 miles on it.
But it's 21,000 lease payment for 2 and 21,000
Yes, that will include everything that needs to be equipped in that vehicle.
for the like the
Lights,
police.
sirens,
Okay.
radio, all the details on the side.
The other leases did not include those.
Correct.
Includes, oh. Yeah, again, probably be worth a little, not now, but sometime a little exercise to see which way, economically
Right, I think,
You know. Buy the base vehicle, put the money in.
it would be a one and done, but it would be, you have to allocate the, I don't know, 10,000-15,000 for the lease payment that year, plus the
Yeah, it's just at least payment.
$12,000
Yeah,
for the, yeah.
it also depends on if we have the money put.
Well,
right?
exactly,
Yeah,
yep.
It's always those factors, lease versus buy kind of analysis.
I will say with municipal lease, if we do go down that way, it's not a lease that you think of, and I think we've talked about this before, you don't pay a balloon payment at the end of the year, we actually do own a vehicle at the end of the 5 years, it's like a loan that doesn't hit your debt limit, and we do still get the municipal finance
Okay.
for that,
So
so
it's a different type of,
it's basically a loan without
lease
being
to-
a loan.
a lease to own.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last on that line is another set of turnout gear, which I'll be honest with you, Kevin, I believe the turnout gear has really increased in the past month or two. I was just speaking with someone at Union saying that
Yeah,
increased $1,500, so.
I will gladly accept that set of turnout here at the end of my term.
How much are 4 portable radios?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. For portable radios, yep, $16,000 for that line.
So a portable radio these days are $4,000. This is, trustee Baskin, you're gonna learn a lot. This is a very expensive,
Yeah.
service that we unfortunately are in. They are $4,000. And right now, our radios are basically obsolete in repair. Once they're done, they're done. And a new radio, we have to pursue new radios. We have a 1500 series, I believe it's a 2000 series that's out there that we would have to explore, unfortunately. We're just trying to be proactive. We have had some radio problems. I know Julie can probably confirm the companies
We
have
just had a
recently
few.
purchased because they're now going.
How many radios do you have altogether?
How many radios altogether?
How much is in?
In the chief rank, I have 4.
Okay,
And in the companies, maybe 10 apiece, 8 to 10.
so this would be replacing all your radios.
This is a number to replace the 4 chiefs, correct? If that has to happen.
How long do they last, do you think? Wow.
Yes, yeah, we've had ours for quite a while. I can't even tell you. Because they get transferred to the next guy, the next guy, the next guy.
Right, so it's a while.
Are we set with the equipment?
Mhm.
Okay. Compared to the other departments, there is no building improvements. Even though they do have that chief's office, it's nice and renovated for the time being. Moving on to contractual, we do have quite a bit here. One of the requested items right there up top is for the grant writer. As you know, it was approved this year for a grant writer, and that services is requested for next fiscal year as well. There's no utilities in that department. Phone and internet is $35.60. That should cover all the expenses for that. That does include the Wi-Fi for the iPads that they do have in the vehicles, both in the chiefs and for some of the fire trucks. I do believe that was a change that we're making this year as opposed to this current year. We did allocate the services for the iPads and the trucks from the from the individual departments, EML and Union, and we're putting it all into the chiefs, just to make allocating for the departments a little bit easier for that.
Chief Crowe, remind me, I know you told us this, but remind me when, you would know about this recent grant.
Grant is going to be early summer is what I've been told by our grant writer.
Thank you.
You applied for it quite a while ago.
Yeah, well, it's out of their control. It's the ones that are reviewing it.
Oh, I know.
Everybody's feeling, everybody's feeling the delay because of COVID of everything. So
Yeah.
that is unfortunately in the hands of the federal grant, the feds reviewing them.
And they never give you a definite date when they're gonna be done.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
Early summer.
Next on that list, we do have fuel. Again, this is quite a bit of an increase from last year, fuel prices. I'm hoping that covers it for next year with the rise in fuel prices. Repair and maintenance, we do have 4,000. I think the repairs and maintenance for the chief's department is pretty minimal, but this would include oil changes, tire rotation, whatever they might have for their vehicles. Under supplies, we do have gas meters. They are requesting 4, and those are $1,000 a piece.
And I just recently got my CO natural gas meter. So that was a forecast, when we met with Julia, so that'll be reduced a little, that could be reduced to 3 if we have to replace them. So the chiefs carry a CO meter and natural gas meter on them, so usually we're a first response, we're there first. If anyone has a situation of CO, we can verify it for our firefighters get there and give an update of whether or not they need to be on SCBA's or not.
And following that, we just have some of the reoccurring expenses of Microsoft licensing program for the computer they do have for the bookkeeper, $270 a year. Hoffman's Car Wash is for car wash for all the chief's vehicles. That is kind of a per visit basis, $960. That would encompass 1 per vehicle every week for the entire year. So that is a bit higher than what they actually do. We do have the cancer insurance at $6,000. That's pretty consistent with the previous years. Training classes, $1,500. When they send any of their volunteers, it would get taken out of there. Firefighter physicals, again, taken out of the chief's budget, $7,500. Target Solutions, this is also a training class.
Yeah, Target Solutions is an online training for us to do online training, bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, all the OSHA mandated schooling. It actually works out well too for, I'll call our snowbirds, who do go south, and we do a lot of training in the winter, right, in a classroom. So that's an opportunity for members who can't attend in firehouse session to be able to go online, create an account, which everybody has. And when Jennifer calls me for numbers for sexual harassment or any other training that the village requires, we're able to, our administrator that we just mentioned earlier is able to send a spreadsheet, which he has done this year.
The easiest part of that process.
Yeah.
And that last one is the insurance for firemen. This is for accidental death, and that is $700. We actually just went with a new provider. We have the contracts that were just signed, and that should definitely encompass that cost for next year, $700. And that sums up the chief's department. So if there's any questions for the chiefs specifically.
The debt, fire truck principal and fire truck.
Yep, so the debt itself, as you can see from the account, is the 9710. While we do have that under the fire chiefs, it actually does go under a different department, but I did want to separate that out so you're aware of how much their principal and interest is for the loan for next fiscal year. 161,566 for principal and 20,341 for interest. This is payment to the 5-year bond that we do have for their 2 fire trucks and the chief's vehicle, or the first chief's vehicle that we got 2020.
I'm sorry, that's
That's a 5-year, and we're
fire-
in year 2.
Yep.
and that's 1 fire truck and
2 fire
two
trucks
fire trucks, I'm
and
sorry.
the 2020 Chiefs Tahoe purchased outright in that bond payment.
So next year will be year 3.
Correct.
So that's 2.5.
Then we need to replace something else. Probably, right?
You want to talk about it, yeah. Unfortunately, they're getting old.
All right, then we will go on to EML. This is EML Direct Expenses. The first line being, again, personal services. They do have a cleaning steward over there for the firehouse. 1320. This has no increase in it from last year. And then moving on to equipment, we have the SCBA tax. This is consistent every year that they always request money for replacing their old, expired, or need to be replaced. SCBA bottle or packs with bottles, 41,000 this year.
Is that what's in the grant?
Yes, so
Okay.
we're being proactive,
Right,
just putting it out there that this is what we'll need if we don't get the grant.
okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And the bottles also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we have turnout gear, always need new and replacement for turnout gear. Again, those just increased $1,500 a piece. So 18,000, hopefully that will get you at least the 5 sets that you're requesting. Mobile radios, we do have 3 of them in there for 3,500. And again, the new portable radios, as we talked about with the chiefs, for 5,125. I'm sorry, that doesn't line up, 10,200. I think I'm missing a line there. Let me see what I missed. Thank you. The spare SCBA bottles for the 5125. Any questions on the equipment?
How many bottles is it?
It's 5 bottles at $1,025 a piece.
Okay.
Are we all set with the equipment?
Mhm.
Okay, requested building improvements for EML. They have a bathroom remodel at $10,000. I think this is to get the bathroom up to ADA handicap compliance, because it is a voting place as well as a shelter, emergency shelter place.
Correct.
The next is 15,000 for resurfacing the parking lot. And then 5,000 for radio room upgrades.
What do those upgrades entail?
So not much. It's all original. We're trying to clean it up, bring it up to date with new cabinets, new countertop. I don't think you've ever had a chance to see in there, but new ceiling tiles, new paint, you know.
Does that work if you're gonna contract out or do you?
No, we would probably do it.
You do it yourself?
Yeah, we don't mind. We put, everything down there has been free labor, as you know, from the firemen. And we continue to take pride in that building, and anything we can do, we'll do to help.
Okay. No, I
Anything
know
of the major
that you
stuff we
volunteer
don't.
fire, but that's
Yeah.
going
we
to fight
volunteer,
fires,
yeah.
but doing
Volunteer
construction.
construction workers as well,
Okay.
contractors.
Are we all set with building improvements?
Mhm.
Okay. Going on to contractual, utilities, 14,000, phone and internet, the 2,880. Then we have fuel at 5,000. Surprisingly, they don't use as much fuel because when a fire truck goes out, I believe you can explain that a little bit more, but they don't go out as often unless it's actually for services for one of the fire trucks. So that's minimal compared to the fire chiefs. Repair and maintenance. I don't like talking about this with the fire department because we never know when anything's going to break. And that being said, anything in the fire trucks are extremely expensive. So the 20,000 that I put in there is based off of history. Some things come in at 13,000 when a transmission breaks. Like we did have this past year on one of our new vehicles, or one of the new fire trucks. So I'm hoping 20,000 will be enough.
In the new vehicle?
Yes, transmission.
They under
flows and-
warranty or anything? There's no
No.
warranty
No,
for a
that
fire
was
truck.
Our engine had a new transmission last year when I was captain, we were at a fire.
Down in Burr Hills.
We were pumping at a fire.
Yeah, that truck is
$15,000.
1995,
Oh, this is
Oh,
this is
okay.
not one of the new
Okay.
trucks.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
27 years old.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
I thought we had one on the new one the other day.
So if I can speak on that for a minute. So we did, no, it was typically we had Pat Morrissey, who was very proactive in knowing the schedule when the trucks needed to be serviced, and it was convenient. He was a firefighter. He could come pick up the truck, take it down to the garage, do his thing, and return it with no inconvenience to anyone. Now it's kind of difficult. The new mechanic doesn't have that background to be able to provide those services. So the mayor in our meeting last month had asked me to look into maybe services, on an annual maintenance plan. So I have looked into that, and just down the street at where by George's Vandermolen, they're a fire truck maintenance repair company. So I did get prices from them, and they are, if we get on a maintenance schedule, about 20,000 a year for the whole department. And that's, they'll take care of coming and getting it, and it's good to get on a maintenance plan. Then we won't maybe run it, they'll catch some things with these vehicles instead of being shocked, like with just a ladder truck with a big bill recently. If we can maybe offset some of those expensive costs by maintaining it annually like we should, it'll avoid that, so.
A little PM, preventative maintenance.
Exactly,
Yeah.
correct.
That
You're
would
right, Sean.
include,
Yep, and that's something that we'll probably pursue.
Yeah.
I just got those quotes this past week, and
This year, this coming year.
correct, yep,
so that contract covers just the labor or the
that'll be repairs, labor, yes.
labor, but not
Yeah.
parts?
And they broke down each truck for us too, as well.
No, parts aren't included, it's just the labor.
Just labor.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And so then there's 20,000 in repair and maintenance now, so there would be still 20,000 for the Vandermolen?
Vandermolen, yeah.
Yeah, but then they'd have to be,
That'd be for the whole department.
Right.
And, yeah.
oh, right, I get
yeah. So
that.
I mean, we'd have a little cushion there for something that did go wrong,
Mhm,
okay?
right.
So we're not shocked with no expenditure. And Julia's blowing up my phone and email about it,
There's factor for
Good
some
job.
pricey parts in case.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because there's, under union, there's also 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
So I have a little cushion there
Mhm.
if we need to.
So continuing on 5,000, just for some standard supplies, this could be some small equipment or just regular supplies for the firehouse to do their day-to-day business. That's in line with previous years as well. And some other contractual garbage, they have the monthly garbage pickup there, 720 for the year. Here's a lot of the ladder or the testing that they have, annual testing, 1,500 for ladder testing, 4,000 pump testing, 2,600 for the rescue tool servicing. Generator services, $1,000, SCBA, flow test and bottle hydro testing, another $1,000. Exhaust system R&M, $2,000. Those are just annual tests that they have to do to comply with requirements and standards. As well as hopefully, again, some preventative maintenance on some of their equipment. Then we have Mahoney Monitoring. This is a monitoring service for the building, $342 for the year. And then one last testing of breathing air compressor testing and maintenance of $1,000. This year, I think we've seen a lot of increases in the testing, so hopefully it maintains for next year as well.
What would you say the biggest reason for the jump in total cost? So actually, it's less than 2021, but
Yeah, contractual is pretty consistent with previous years, besides the adopted total there, but 2021 actual, it was 60,706, so we're a little bit bumped up from there. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one, 94,000 for actual there, 67 for what was budgeted. I don't think contractual has really increased, but the overall budget has increased just due to additional equipment and building improvement requests. Are we set to move on to union? All right. Personal services union also has a cleaning steward over there. No proposed increase for that salary. Moving on to equipment, we have 65,000 for SCBA tax, 20,000 for turnout gear. They're hoping to purchase 5 with that requested money. We have 5,000 for multi-gas meters, 10,200 portable radios, 10,250 for spare CBA bottles, and then pagers for 1,750, hopefully getting 5 of them at 350.
So you're gonna hold off on, you can hold off on purchasing this until you hear about the grant.
For the SCBA's.
Yeah.
Any questions with equipment?
Well, it says portable radios 2 at 3,400, but then across it says 10,200.
And Julia,
Oops.
based on what we submitted, it should be a 3. I think it's a typo. It should be 3 and
3 and
34.
3, okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to building improvements. Roof replacements over at Union. I do believe I heard there is some leaking over there. 60,000 hopefully would be requested to replace that. Seal coating over there, $5,000. Front apron and sidewalk, 64,000 to potentially replace all of that. 65,000 for front facade repairs. I did put in some kind of very general estimations based off of these 2 projects that were also requested. I put in about 15,000. I don't know if that's really what it's going to be for repointing the brick walls. Again, with this one, I put in about 5,000 to change out the engine bay upper windows, and then 10,500 for replacing, I believe, or putting in an air conditioning over there.
The roof is going on 40 years of life right now. Union Fire Company is dealing with broken ceiling tiles right now upstairs because of the leak. So this is something that definitely is going to need attention this year. And these are pretty accurate estimates. The company has been proactive to get these estimate costs so we could have them for this meeting. Seal coating is that new parking lot. This is going on a 2nd year. It wasn't recommended until this year to do the seal coating on the new parking lot. And the front apron and sidewalk, unfortunately, is heaving. I would encourage you to take a walk up through there by the firehouse, and it's more of a tripping hazard right now for the public. So that's something that's going to definitely need attention.
You know how many
Sidewalk
feet?
is
Yeah, that's a
there?
lot of sidewalk.
It is a lot of sidewalk, and we talked about that in our meeting. I wish I could tell you 300-400 feet
Really?
of sidewalk.
It's 35 feet from the front of the building out to the road, and then the whole width of the building,
And
which
then
is
300,
70, 80 foot.
and it's wide. That's the problem, because
It's not just the sidewalk, it's
apparatus
the
truck.
apron where the trucks drive out
Right.
to the street. That was last replaced when the state came through and redid Route 50 through the village some, I don't know, 30 years ago.
Did you get a quote for that, or is that just a guess?
Yes, we did.
No, I got a quote.
What is there anything, like I know one of the things that we were told about Village Hall is that there's a vault, you know, in an engineering report, there's a vault underneath the sidewalk, and they specifically said, don't, you know, let any fire trucks up on the
On the
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Right, so is there anything in particular about your sidewalk? There's no special, anything that's needed under there
Well-
because you're driving a
Ap-
truck?
The apron needs to be at least 6 inches thick.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're driving a truck
Yeah.
that has 1,500 gallons of water, so you know, that's
Potentially
12,000
thicker, right.
pounds
Yeah.
just
And,
in water.
I think 6 inches is recommended.
Yeah,
Oh,
DOT
so-
standards is 6 inches for like a normal curb apron, but something that I would have to take a look. and
So
maybe
that
it
apron
makes
could
sense.
possibly equate to what was just done in the Union Fire Company
Yeah.
floor,
Yeah,
6 inches of concrete and
right.
stone.
That's why the pricing is fairly similar to where our entire floor was. So it's about the same square footage, same
Right.
thickness.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on building improvement? Okay, and then going down to contract.
Can we get a brief description of what's going on with the facade?
So the front facade of Union Fire Company is like a limestone. And again, many years old, that is now cracking, and parts of it we're finding on the sidewalk apron.
Hmm.
All right, so it's starting to deteriorate. And the last thing we want is anything coming down affecting anybody walking by the firehouse and getting hit in the head per se, worst case scenario, okay? So they have gone again and gotten estimates for the contractor to look into replacing that limestone.
So we'll be taking limestone off.
I'm not sure, I'd have to,
Preferably probably covering it.
Okay.
The people, there's several different people that came and looked at it, one or two were like really good at that kind of attaching that stone stuff. And they said we're not gonna lose big chunks of it, the whole thing's not gonna fall off and hurt somebody, but it's gonna deteriorate around the edges as it currently is. Their recommendation would be to cover it with a metal or some other type of covering.
Are we set? Okay. Going down to contractual utilities, $10,000. We all know that's increasing. 1860 for phone and internet over there. I will say that we do not pay for internet over there. I'm not sure if it gets billed directly to the company, but that is not included in that 1860. We have $5,000 for fuel, and this is pretty consistent with EML. $20,000 for repair and maintenance. $5,000 for supplies, and then we're going down to some testing and some services, just like with EML. $720 for garbage services, that is for a year, $60 a month. Rescue fuel servicing, ground ladder and pump testing, generator service and maintenance, SCBA flow testing and bottle hydro testing, exhaust system testing, annual ANSOL system testing, gas meter repair and testing, EOS technology, and then again, they have the monitoring services.
Just your air conditioning system's old? I see, sorry, just to jump over, that's $10,000.
they don't even have one. They have parts of the firehouse, correct, Mike?
Just the one, the upstairs room has air conditioning currently, and it's very old, like 30 or 40 years old, and been repaired several times. Currently is not working. So we want to replace that and have additional, like the little zone ones in the room.
What, like a mini split?
Again, as you can see, that's at the bottom of the list. Those are prioritized in that order.
Okay.
The priority we put on what needs to be replaced first. We did discuss this, and there's potential that we may pay for the air conditioning upgrades ourselves this year. Just like the carpet we're having installed ourselves from our own company monies in the upstairs areas.
Are those like
Because it's a comfort thing for us.
mini
It's not
splits?
necessary. What's that?
Mini splits,
Something like that. Yes.
yeah, because it provides both heat and cooling.
Well, we don't need heat. We got that boiler that puts out plenty of heat.
Plenty of heat, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Chief Rachel?
No.
No, okay, all right. The testing, absolutely necessary. I get it. Is it all done by one company or is
Oh,
it
no.
done by
No,
different
numerous,
companies?
oh, absolutely, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah. And there's not a lot of them to choose from, unfortunately.
mhm.
Yeah, this is all annual required, FPA OSHA mandated testing.
One thing that we could help us out, if I recall, the Vandermullen service thing did include pump testing.
Yep.
So that's I don't know, probably
Well, that's-
$500 a truck that would come off of the annual testing there and go into that 20 grand service
that's-
contract.
So
So
it's good,
That's something.
Yeah.
That's great.
absolutely, that's where it's a help to those people
Mhm,
that help us out.
right. Okay.
Any other questions on union? Okay, last fire department, related department is the fire police. For this one, we just have contractual, phone and internet. They do have cell phones, $612 for the year, repair and maintenance, $2,000, and supplies, $5,000.
Repair and maintenance is what, one car?
That's one truck.
Okay. This, we had a conversation about, correct? Okay, and we also checked out the insurance, correct?
Correct.
And so the vehicle is, as you were saying, gets, breaks down partially because it doesn't get used, and it's, as I recall, the answer from the insurance is it is very standard for fire police to have the material in their own cars and to show up. And
Absolutely.
okay. So is, which is, good news. So then the repair and maintenance of this, it's an old ambulance, right?
Correct. It was donated by the site years ago.
So if somebody can use their own cars, are we better off
Mileage.
with paying mileage?
And I talked to them about that since we met.
Uh-huh,
And I left it at that for them to discuss to get back to me. So it may be an option, and that's what the chiefs did for many years. We took our own vehicles and we got paid mileage by the village. So it's an option.
okay.
Taking that, we could sell that
For, well,
vehicle and put that money towards the expense of gas mileage.
What kind of supplies do they need?
So they're in the same situation with the radios. So these are, I have just as much respect for these gentlemen and ladies that I do with my firefighters. So these are the ones who are out at night till 1 o'clock in the morning on down wires like we had last night. They're the ones that are standing in the elements, taking the beat from the people going by because the roads closed or shut down, and they take a lot of harassment. So they're out there. So we have PPE for them. Whether the cold elements, we're getting them pants they need, we're getting them the coats, 511 coats they need, gloves, hats, you name it. Anything that we can do to make them feel comfortable, because at any point in time, we're inside some buildings sometime with some heat around us, and these guys are standing in the freezing cold, freezing rain out and snow. And so we're trying to make it as comfortable as we can for them. Flashlights, paddle fans for right to traffic, cones. And I can go on forever talking about equipment for these folks.
could hear you last night.
Yeah, it was busy last night.
Yes, it was. Okay. Well, thank you. So you'll let us know about that.
That it?
Um,
For this department, yeah.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you,
to meet
thank you. And just remember when we spoke and you said so that in former times that some of the money that came to the fire companies was kept by the village, and that Mayor Woolbright established that all fire tax or fire district money goes to the fire companies for their services, and that obviously is the right decision and, will be maintained. So, okay.
Now, I do have in front of me, this is from the Department of Treasury, that I realize you did give COVID relief money, as towns did as well.
Mhm.
And this specifically is a recovery fund overview, final rule document. And it does state in this that it can be used towards buildings, fire trucks, police cars. So your pandemic money, relief money you got isn't just limited to one or two certain things.
Oh, yeah, there's a list.
All right, there is quite a list. So I would think that and hoping that money could be helpful with our infrastructure problems we're having, some with our buildings. If you could take a look at that, we would appreciate that.
We will, and we understand that the things are in the order of importance
Absolutely.
with the roof and
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your service. We're gonna take just a 5-minute break, please. Stretch break.
Takes longer than
All right, so we are up to
village. A lot of pages, but
There's a lot of. So
You
who
already-
talks about this, the mayor and treasurer?
well, we'll go through it.
Yes.
Just she'll tell us what they're attached to, that they're.
Yeah.
I love this message. You have a number. It's from Florida. It's like, well, it could be, but.
Listen to me here,
It's like, call me back, but I don't know who you are.
It's just the old. It's just That's funny. This is like, you know, like 1999.
Oh, no, I mean, the first time I was on the board.
Miami.
Yeah.
One more of these meetings, what, Thursday night, right?
Yep, I think so.
We were talking.
Oh, yeah. So the nonprofits.
And the art committee and your parks. and Rec.
Those should be pretty quick, right?
It's not big dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of things you can spend it on.
I was just going over it. This is more thorough than it was last year.
What's that?
This review is much more thorough. than
Yes,
last year.
absolutely.
We're gonna hit every line.
Yeah.
We didn't last year. I don't think.
It's not one thing, it's another.
Unless,
This is other stuff. Well, like the pool is sort of under DPW, but it's not in there.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're covering everything.
Yeah, the only things that I don't have in this one that I put into next meeting is like the parks.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the way Park and Tree Board's kind of
Yeah, no,
set up, is that some of their expenses go to Kelly, some of them goes, or Kelly Park, some of them goes to Wiswall, you know, and so forth. So I have those kind of together, but it's supposed to, it's gonna be a little hard to go through Park and Tree, but I figured it was best to do that all in one day.
yeah, but I meant this whole process, we're going through everything. There's
Oh,
no
yeah,
lines in
there's
it.
nothing that's
Yeah,
left out.
because last year, there were lines that weren't reviewed, but
Yeah, yep.
yeah, that wasn't good.
Hopefully the detail too is.
yeah,
No,
it's great.
I like-
Thanks
Do
for
you
putting
have
that in.
this sheet for last meeting?
I can make that sheet. Yeah, the only, so what I originally sent you, I was worried last night. That's why I was up till 11 o'clock.
I know
but-
this. What's Julia sending me emails at 11 o'clock at night?
And then of course, when I'm working at 11 o'clock, I missed it. So, the original thing that I sent you is what I can provide you for those dates. If you want this set up with last meetings, then
Yeah,
I'll
with
have
the
to
numbers
combine
that
them.
we,
But if you
came
just
up
want the
with.
detail, then I can give you the detail really easy.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be good, this is better than the last time, because you can really kind of see
So you know,
it all, and.
not miss anything.
Right, so if you can create something similar.
Yeah.
Smart.
And then we've got the whole package.
Oh.
You ready?
Okay, let's see, let's get back to this. So, okay, this is government support budget. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So starting off for all other departments is the trustees budget. In this budget, we have the salaries of 4 trustees. Sorry, let me just get up to that on my screen. Okay, and then in contractual, we do have the website yearly licensing and service for $57.77. And then $1,000 for supplies such as, legal ads, other supplies if they request, I don't know, paper,
Any, where does the
Training.
money, yeah, training and stuff,
equipment.
that's all in there. So
It
if we
would
go to
be.
the conference. The
Yep, it
conference
can be
or-
taken out of there.
Okay,
I will say from, or the current year that we're in, but last year's budget process, we did have training lumped under the mayor's budget, and this year we're kind of, spreading that out to each department. I think some of the departments kind of were hesitant in sending to training, because they're like, we don't have a training budget, even though it was just in another department. So we're kind of spreading the wealth here and putting the training in the department in which it would be utilized in.
okay.
So for Board of Trustees, that is all. So if there's any questions, let me know. It's pretty consistent with prior years.
Yeah, we don't get a raise.
Actually, I do believe there is just a standard increase that we applied against all the salaries here. I can double check on that for you.
No, I think there was 2.5.
Oh, we got a raise.
Yeah,
Yep,
nothing last year,
2.5%.
but this year. Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
If it gets approved.
Yes, of
yeah.
course.
Moving on to the mayor's budget. Mayor's budget as well as that 2.5% increase for personal services. And then under contractual, we do have the labor relations attorney here at the 22,800. As you're aware, we do still have an ongoing union negotiations currently, but this also provides any assistance even after the contract is, or after the negotiations are over.
So would the next, how long
They,
are the
they
contracts?
do, the contracts are 3 years, so 3 years, but right, so it's,
So this amount wouldn't be needed in the next year?
well,
or
I don't
would?
know. I don't know. I think we'd have to, it all depends on whether we get a contract,
Right.
how far we go. And also they don't, it's not just collective bargaining, they do ongoing labor relations counseling and training, and they have that area of expertise in unionized contracts, that, for example, the municipal attorney, it's provided one place or another, and it's provided, in this case, it's provided with the labor relations attorney.
Is this what we paid this current year?
I think we
There's
paid, there was a
an increase.
an
It's $50 per month.
$50 increase, $50 per month, yeah.
Yep.
For this,
So it
for
was,
the next year?
no, it was, right, $50 per month. And it was, we signed it originally, and it was a 3-year contract with,
Oh, so
50,
this is
50.
the 3rd year of the 3-year contract?
no,
Second.
this is the 2nd year.
Okay, so we have basically like we do for the attorney, and so
Right,
we have
it's
a
all right,
contract to
right,
handle
right.
labor relations.
And the thing about this that is good is that in this particular contract, we went to mediation, and in most labor relations contracts that we looked into, various services, if you had to go to mediation, you paid that separately, sort of like under attorney, you pay extra if you have an Article 78. In this particular one, the mediation is included in if you need to go to mediation, and we did go to mediation before we got a contract, so it served us well.
How long are those contracts, the DPW and police? Or is that 1
They
year
are
at a time?
3.
They're 3 years?
Well, the DPW is the one that we agreed to, and it's 3 years.
Okay.
So then under other, this would encompass supplies. I don't believe we changed anything from last year. I will say that, like I said a little bit earlier, this did entail some training for other departments, which we did not reduce, but this would be supplies such as ink cartridges, paper, letterhead, so on and so forth. There might be some wiggle room to reduce that down, actually quite a bit.
Mayor, you have a computer that's.
Oh, my computer is,
New.
yeah, my computer is, okay. it's fine.
I think we finally replaced all the computers in Village Hall to be
Yeah,
2021.
Contemporary? Okay,
Yes,
that's good.
yes.
Just want to make sure that, if you want an efficient staff, give them good equipment.
Mhm.
I'm in favor of that, given how computers cost versus people.
Okay, then moving on to the next department, municipal executive. For personnel services, this is our village admin, Jen. This has a 2.5% increase from her salary. And then we have under contractual $1,000 for training. That's pretty consistent with what we've been putting in for all the other departments, approximately $1,000 per person.
That's something that there wasn't a lot of money spent on in the past, right?
Yep, and this also encompasses any equipment for computers. So the computers that we have replaced, they have built-in speakers, but this doesn't necessarily have audible speakers. I utilize mine, but it's very faint. So this can be the addition of speakers, headphones to have private, training sessions, so you don't hear all the background, as well as web cameras as well.
I want everybody in Village Hall to be able to have, and we talked to Jeff IT, but we have Jeff Gories and then we have Jeff Classeri, who we refer to as Jeff IT or IT Jeff. That I want to make sure that in all instances, everybody has the equipment to be able to, do training at their desk with
Right.
a camera, Zoom and headphones.
It's a whole lot less expensive than sending somebody off
Right,
for
right.
days. Then,
Okay, going on to the treasurer's department. The salaries are in there with a 2.5% increase. No equipment needed for our department. Going down to contractual. A lot of these contractual expenses have sat in the treasurer's department, and if you know anything about the comptrollers, they like consistency through the year, so we're gonna keep them there. So the first service that we have there is a payroll service. So this payroll service can range depending on the number of checks cut per week.
And
But
it's two people in this. payroll
Yes,
service.
sorry,
it's
yes,
you
it's
and-
not just mine.
Yes, it's two
Um,
people. Yeah.
Yes, myself and we have a senior account clerk typist, full-time as well.
Mhm.
So payroll services, again, this is what we pay for third-party payroll system or services. It ranges per number of checks, but on average, it shouldn't exceed $250 per week. I do believe I have in there. Yep, $250 per week. It's probably going to come in under that just because that's taking into consideration a high number of checks each week. Next, we have the accounting support. This is EFPR. This is a monthly contract that we had that should be about $26,772.
Sorry, excuse me. You think that's cleaning people up there? Is there someone supposed to be up there?
Yeah, because,
All right,
somebody's up there.
all right, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
It's,
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're moving stuff. Sorry.
When you guys go into the executive session, to be honest with you, we hear the same thing just from.
Oh, just walking.
Right.
It's that loud up there.
Okay.
Next is Microsoft Outlook. I get all the departments licensing towards this department again at a consistency. The next is the annual audit, $9,000. $9,000 pretty much just encompasses what the auditor provides now. If you want a more expensive, it will be double, triple that price. So if that's something you want to consider discussing, we can.
That covers this section 8.
No, section 8 is actually fully reimbursable by
Well, that's in
the
their
program.
budget, yeah.
Yeah, well, so we do purchase or we do extend and pay for the audit for them, but we do get reimbursed within actually a month, they're actually really good about that. So any Section 8 audit is fully reimbursed by them.
Well,
You know, I'm gonna go upstairs because the hours are supposed to be till 7.
Sean, go with her.
I'll be free.
Bob Kavanaugh went up there though.
Oh, he did.
that was up there.
So,
Okay.
just walk
I
outside.
think he went to go investigate.
Uh,
Okay, thank you.
If he doesn't come back in 10 minutes, I'll go get him.
My hero.
One by one.
Bob can take care of himself. I wouldn't mess with Bob. Okay,
So do you
I'm
think,
sorry.
given the problems we had with the audit, we should pay more for a different auditor, or,
we need to get a different one,
I
Yes.
mean, would it cost
But-
more than?
but that's very difficult to do.
I would say for the level of audit that we had, and if we continue with that same audit with another company auditor, there could be a fluctuation of maybe $1,000, $2,000. But if you want a more extensive audit, which is not really recommended, which is the generally accepted accounting principles audit, which is very expensive and not many towns even do that. You're looking at about $20,000, $30,000 for that audit.
No, we just want any audit. We're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
getting- we're not getting an audit.
So that being said, if we want to put in potentially, $2,000, maybe even $3,000, that could potentially range from other auditing companies that might be more inclusive and faster.
I
I
think,
don't know,
yeah.
we can
I
always.
mean, unless
put it
they have a
in.
good excuse, I mean, this
Yeah.
seems like
Well-
it's many months. of-
Right, and as Julia said, municipal, it's very hard to get a municipal
Oh, okay.
auditing firm.
But that being said, there's obviously other
right.
municipal accountants out there and auditors. So if we do budget an extra $3,000 to see what other companies are out there, they're going to be in the same line around 9,000, but it could exceed what we have right now. So do you want to put in potentially an extra $3,000 upwards of 12,000? I don't foresee it being that much more because we're the similar audit, but it shouldn't exceed that.
Right.
Okay, and we'll put in for that one instead of 9,000, we'll put in 12,000. The next on the list is computer/server services. This is all of our IT billing. So again, we do pay per hour for what they're working on. Again, with consistency reasons, it's always gone against Treasurer's Department. $5,000 should encompass any computer or technical issue that we have to call our IT provider for. This includes setting up new computers, replacing computers, any problems with emails, any problems with anything computer related that I can't off the top of my head fix.
And he takes care of all our cybersecurity needs, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that is an issue
Right.
nowadays.
The next one on that list is $9,000 for the accounting software, which is what we pay every year. There's
Wow,
How's it,
that's rented.
Are
That's
we-
like a.
a license, yeah,
License.
software license.
are you, I mean, now you've used the admin system.
We
a
have
number-
fixed so much with it, and this is called MCSJ or otherwise Edmunds GovTech. The thing about Edmunds GovTech is they're buying out all municipal software programs. There's probably only 3 out there now, including them who's purchased other ones. We've done a lot of fixes with the system, so I'm pretty pleased with how it is going. We have a lot of information and detail that we put in there to kind of work more alongside the needs of what we want. So
So-
this is both
So it's
accounting,
kind of running well, the
Yes.
system.
this is accounting and utilities, the utility system. From what I understand about other municipal accounting software is that they don't have that built-in utility billing, which is kind of, it's good to have with your accounting.
So that's like the
software.
water bills and
Correct.
sewer
Yep,
bills and that,
yep.
okay.
I will say though, that I've looked into it before and I didn't have it on here or brought it up, but I did look into connecting the accounting software for utilities and billing to an online platform. That additional service is $5,000 extra a year. It's a yearly license, but what we have currently for taking online payments is through GovPay, which has no fees towards us. Again, I
But
didn't
charges the person.
charges the person, yep.
nice.
And then it's 2.75% per the transaction with a minimum of $1.
Are many people using that for large payments? or
I've had
not?
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really?
It's very overwhelming how many emails I get every day, especially around the utility and tax season. So I've probably got 40, 50, a lot of them sometimes do exceed $1,000.
Does it result in an email? Someone-
I get an email once a payment comes in. I also get an email once the ACH has been approved and ready to submit, basically saying that the transaction was good
Yeah.
and ready. And then I input it once it actually clears the bank. With any.
But a system that's more integrated with
This
the
would be- yes.
accounting would be, I put my reading in, it,
I don't know about the reading. I haven't looked into that far, but the one thing with our GovPay, I'm sorry, it's now all pay, is that you'd have to know your total. While if we look into the integrated software with our accounting software, is that
Tell you
once
what
you, exactly, it would tell you how much is your outstanding
yeah.
amount for your utility or tax.
I think it would be good if we could eventually get to where, you can put your reading in instead of sending a card, and you explain that can get a little complicated because it's different,
Why?
well,
Right, well,
We
we're not
get-
talking about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do get a lot of errors in meter readings. We sorted out a lot of them based off of the two types of meter cards we send out. Based off of the two different meters we have. The newest ones have a decimal system that goes to the 10th, while the old ones have that, standalone 0 at the end. So that has decreased a lot of issues with meter readings. But unfortunately, we still get people who read their electric meter. And that would change.
But not that we had to have this whole conversation at this budget meeting, but it may not be too complicated to have just a interface, a form that people fill out rather than send their card in.
Yeah,
And
and
on the back end, there's an Excel sheet that it populates.
yeah.
I mean, it
and-
doesn't have to be integrated with anything else. It's a way to get the data without.
well,
people
you
mailing it in.
want, if somebody puts in a number, you don't want somebody else to have to re-put in the number. That's the idea.
Well, it's
So it
happening
flows.
now, right?
Oh, no, that's what
Yeah,
we're doing
so,
now, and
but-
that gives a lot of chance for errors.
Well, it's
Because
happening
you've
now.
got-
It's not perfect, but it's better than making people mail things in and getting a $50 fine if it doesn't show up or gets lost.
No, I think to automate all of this,
Yeah, an automated process. So if this system is not just payment, but also potential meter reading, I think it would be a little bit more valuable.
yeah.
In my eyes.
I think it can be done at a rudimentary level. Again, it's not totally integrated, but you just create an Excel in the back end from what the input is on the
Well,
form.
but I think
on
our
the
web,
website.
our web system, they have some ability to do that.
We have a
right?
way to
Here.
input information on our website that gets sent to us, but the thing is here is that the postcards that get sent have a picture of the meter, and that helps individuals know this is what my meter looks like, and this is how it needs to be entered in. Again, there's a
Right.
The
difference
meters
between,
are different.
yeah,
Yes.
the,
What we need is all the same meters that don't require people to do anything.
Sounds like we need a web page on our website that shows the different meters and instructionally shows them, and then we could put here.
Well, that is different than getting something in the mail. You open it up, or you'd have to go to the website and look at it. Anyway, all right, it's another conversation, but
okay.
it,
But if this software integrated with our accounting system potentially has that integrated in it, it could be valuable.
Yeah.
So I'll look to see if it's not just payments, but also meter reading entries as well.
Yeah, just something to explore. I mean, the more we can automate things, the better.
Next on there is just general supplies for our department, ink cartridges, tax warrant ads, legal notices, anything like that will go into there. I try to keep my supplies low, but I use a lot of ink and paper. And then we have $2,000 in for training. Again, this also includes computer equipment, and $1,000 per employee. So myself.
You've been
and-
going to quite a few trainings. Yeah.
I do a lot of online ones. I often find it's really difficult to seclude myself for long enough to fully be invested in those, but I do like going to Nikon. A lot of the state controllers put it out. They haven't in a while, but like 3 days or 2.5 day trainings, that's really informative. So
There's a lot out there.
yeah, I think I just got one the other day, actually, that's someplace in Albany. I can't even remember what it's for.
You know,
Going on to the village clerk. We do have the village clerk in here, with a 2.5% increase, salary increase. And then
That's just, is that one person?
I believe so, yes. We did have a cleaner that was associated with that account as well, through I can't remember, Saratoga Bridges, which hasn't, we haven't had in a long time just because of COVID and, personal reasons. We don't have that cleaner anymore. So I'm just want to make sure that that's not still in there.
And where is the cleaning service? There is a cleaning.
Yep, there is okay, yes, there is a cleaning service still associated with that salary. The total amount for that is only $1,383 in that line.
That's what line?
Is it-
Village
that's-
clerk line?
Village clerk, yeah,
That's not Saratoga Bridges.
that was Saratoga Bridges. Again, there hasn't, that position hasn't been filled in a while because of COVID.
Are we
and
getting
personal
our
issues.
village hall cleaned?
No,
We actually do in a different service, but this was
Do we have a contract? Or
No.
No, it's just a part-time help.
correct, yep.
Right.
Yeah, and again, we haven't had it since August of 2021, 2020. It's been a while, but that position's always been associated with it. So if we want to eliminate that, we can. I'll say it's about 1,300, but we have that position open in case, we want to offer that again with Saratoga Bridges.
Oh, you need some cleaning. Who would do cleaning?
well, we do have cleaning. What
Oh,
Julia's
that's
saying
separate.
is
Oh,
that
it's
it is,
additional.
the Saratoga Bridges cleaning is in here. There is cleaning at Village Hall.
Okay.
And we may be changing that. Well, yeah, but in any event,
Do we use the same service as the other buildings? Or
no, we do not.
Could
We
we-
did at one point have the library and the Village Hall done by the same company, and then there was they were not satisfied with how it was done at Village Hall, so they got somebody new, and now so now they're separate.
Okay.
Under village clerk contractual, we do have a pest control at $40 per month. Old building, lots of insects, critters, rodents. We don't want to see that. We have a postage machine lease. Yes, we do lease our postage, but we do get a 2 cents savings for every piece of postage that we send out. So it actually is a savings for us. A quarterly lease, that's right there. We have a phone bill in there, cell phone that we've had since COVID. In the instance that we do have to work from home, that cell phone has been created. So we can transfer calls to that cell phone. Under supplies, this is generally where most of Village Hall supplies go. Lots of paper for postings, paper that the clerk uses. We have the postage that's not associated with the department that goes against her account.
What about Xerox machine, copy machine? Where's that? Because I'm sure there's
Yeah. let me
maintenance and
just-
stuff on that. Does that go in
We
the
did
clerks?
have a maintenance plan and
Would think it would be in the clerks.
yeah, I want to double check that.
You got a good machine.
Old,
used
yeah, but no, yeah, it's very inclusive of what we need. We did have a maintenance on it. I think it was only 300 a year. I'm not sure if I have that grouped into another cost. I'll have to look into that.
Not a big deal.
Because we do not pay for the machine itself, we just have the maintenance, so any ink is covered, it's.
Yeah.
It's utilized very quickly there, so I'll look into that one, but it's generally from what I can remember, about $300 a year.
Do we have, where do we have the software improvement that I spoke to you about in this budget, in the clerk?
I don't have it in here, and that was my scheduling and poor timing.
Okay.
So a software for
Yeah.
visibility might be in here. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, Christine.
It was. I can't either. It was
Oh,
more
boy.
like,
What's it
I don't
for?
know, $20 a month, but you'd have to, I gave you paper.
I know you did, yeah,
Yeah, but, and
It has to be checked because I don't believe it's that cheap, having used it myself.
What kind of?
It's software that makes it readable.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
It's a special software pack.
I'll look into that as well and add the cost to that towards this budget. Whew. Okay, and then again, we have the $1,000 for training and equipment.
Okay.
Okay, then we can move on to the attorney. We have the attorney's contract in there for $42,000. That's what we're contracted right now. I think that's kind of sustainable there. If the contract goes going to effect, what, December,
It's
November, December?
December 13th, I think.
So if there's
So if it-
potentially a raise, we won't know about it until we get closer to that.
Right.
Not a raise, an increase, I'm sorry. Then going down to engineering. Engineering, we've always had about 40,000 in for this. This is all engineering for the village, less anything related to water and sewer, since they do have their own departments. The only thing this year that was not included in this total was for the village hall facade and all that, as we put in a different department in anticipation of potentially what would have been that grant, but we all know that that did not come to fruition. So 40,000 should encompass any engineering.
It
expenses we may have.
doesn't include water and sewer?
Water and sewer gets separated into the water department and sewer fund. So that's the difference here. This is just for the general fund, so all other.
But we didn't-
engineering
So there are
Like
engineering
buildings.
expenses in the water and sewer.
Right,
Yeah,
but this is
no.
for like buildings.
Anything else?
None.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
literally
we
Anything
anything else.
besides.
But we
Right.
didn't,
But
the amount
it's a lot more.
projected is
Very
1,800.
low, yes, yep.
And the actual, well, was, about 10,000 less. I mean,
Why are we going up to 40?
That's what was requested for me to put in there for potential other engineering expenses.
I mean, where we
Okay.
may have expenses is with these buildings. Because it, like, having an engineer look at the EMS building and making sure everything is, or if we,
This,
on
this
village.
isn't a contract, it's just if we
Nope,
need them.
No, yeah, they are a per hour, per 15-minute contract.
Yeah.
I will say the engineering fees, and again, a lot of it was water sewer, and like I said, for the village hall repair, there was quite a bit that we paid towards them. This $40,000 is what was requested from Christine to.
So Mayor, is there a reason you upped it? Is it for the new building?
It's for anything that might happen. I mean, there are a lot of things that come up that you need, that you might need an engineer for, when you have, it's just
Yeah.
because everything we have is old.
well, that would also cover engineering and potentially architectural. I mean, if we needed to do, we have to move walls or something and we're going,
Right.
that I would assume. it
I
would.
mean, not that I think this is, like, for instance, the firehouse roof. If because the leak had been for a while and you might want an engineer to go in there and say, well, can we just replace the roof, or is the substructure underneath? And then you might need some sort of recommendation, but
We used
Things
the
like
engineer,
that.
we had the engineer come and tell us, they were the ones who originally figured out what we needed to do to stop when Andrea was here the other day, I'm pointing to the wrong place, of course. But on the side of the library where we had the ice built up, it was the engineer who came out originally, who figured out all the steps of everything that had to be fixed to change to fix the problem.
So it's going to be mostly related to building.
Buildings,
right.
yes.
Because
and
everything
For
else is
instance, the
water.
vaults, we will have them put out the RFP, so there's gonna be hours associated with that. We end up. For what?
The vault
The
Oh, the
vaults,
vault.
yeah,
and the wall.
and the retaining wall. I mean, the engineering work's been done. It might
Yeah,
have
I
to be
thought it was
updated.
done.
It was done, but it was also in a aggregate contract, so they would need to break it out. I can't imagine it's a heavy lift, but,
Yeah.
and it would have to be updated. they would also do an RFP if you wanted to do that.
I think they also, the engineering also was on the facade, because it isn't just a paint job. It's-
No,
There's,
there could be structural elements.
yeah, they're particularly on the side there, if you look at it.
I mean, they had to certify for the records management program that the building could take the load.
Right.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a,
So we're gonna request still $40,000?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Election, we have another election in next fiscal year. Previous years, and I mean prior to even 2021, sometimes the cost is more so around just over $2,000, and we budgeted 2,000 in prior years. I find that it's just over like $2,100, $2,200. So I'm putting in, or I'm requesting $2,500 for that for next year. Going on to records management, this was a request from Christine to put in $5,000 for any additional expenses that we might need outside of what was requested in the grant. We do have money in this fiscal year that we have utilized for extra materials. This is, Luan for covering the walls so
Yeah,
they can actually paint it, the floors, just to make it walkable.
so we got building improvements out of
Well,
this grant.
I don't know if you'd exactly call them improvements. What they did is we budgeted for paint and then realized that if we had to do paint, that we had to take the wallpaper off wall, and which creates a work hazard. So therefore you cover the wall and then you paint it. And so it's
Nothing
called the
simple.
one, the DPW figured it out, but that was an extra. It wasn't covered by the $800 that we put in to just paint the rooms. There's never anything that simple in an old building.
So the grant is external to this budget,
Yes,
and we're not expecting beyond this 5,000 any impact.
no.
When's that gonna be done? What's the timeline on it?
And
Was it
June,
June or something?
end of June,
Really? Good.
they're gonna start on
Really?
the
21st.
21st. They changed.
March?
21st,
Yep.
21st of March is when the people come in to actually start doing the
Yeah,
work.
we-
All of this has been
That
prepped.
means after they're done, you'll actually be able to find them.
Well, let
Yeah,
us
keep
hope.
going.
Hopefully I don't have to search for payroll record back from 1984.
Mhm.
Okay, then moving on to shared services and in specific, this is for 66 Front Street building. That's not to be confused with any department related building improvements or building costs. So for 66 Front Street shared services for contractual, we have the cleaning service. This is what we were just talking about.
There it is.
Yes, this current fiscal year, we do have $100 per week for the $5,200, but we're actually hoping to look for a different cleaner for next year. That being said, when we were looking for the current cleaner that we do have, we had to do some negotiations to get it to the $100 per week. So it was requested to up that budget to $150 per week in the instance of hoping to buy a new clean, or to find a new cleaner, not buy a new
Do
cleaner.
they clean both the main floor and the basement level?
Yeah, and they don't,
Currently,
yes,
that's what was.
they don't clean the basement level enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been
For
in
sure.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
and the only reason we're looking is because of consistency reasons and trying to get them to actually come in at least once a week, and that hasn't been happening.
Why was the budget so much more last year for this current year?
On the whole shared services.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is projected 44,594. It's almost, it's double,
Yeah, let me just take a look at that.
although the.
I wonder-
Oh, we had the engineering cost for the facade of the building,
Oh,
$26,000 for that. That's why that projected is a little bit higher.
26,000.
Yes, but I'm not sure if you remember back then, I believe we had a budget transfer from contingency to pay for that surplus of engineering costs.
This is where the photocopier would go? Under shared services?
No, because the copier itself is kind of associated with the village
Department.
clerk's office, so it would go under there. Again, I might have overlooked that, so I'll have to double check the cost of that, and it would go under village clerk's contractual.
Did we authorize all this? Engineering, 26,000. I guess. I don't remember it, but I don't have a great memory.
There's still a little bit more with the sewer services for 66 Front Street. That's utilities, 3,500, phone and internet. And I do have the purchasing of new phones. I've been bugging them every week to get me a quote. I'm really hoping that it gets done in this fiscal year because it's now gone on 2 fiscal years. That being said, if it doesn't,
Is that some sort of contract where you're purchasing the equipment?
equipment, the lines, they would have to hook up new Cat 5 internet, lines to upgrade the systems to get to that standard because it would go to a Wi-Fi based system. Again, I really hope it doesn't go into next fiscal year, but I really don't know at this point because I've been waiting so long.
And I thought you had quotes from everybody.
I had
except-
quotes from Spectrum, Verizon, and I believe another provider, but I didn't get one from our current provider, which was formerly known as Magnify. With the phone systems, no matter if we moved or not, we would have to deal with Magnify, which is why I've been holding off for their quote. Because if I can deal with one, phone provider, that'd be a whole lot easier than dealing with two. That being said, I don't know how much longer I can wait.
Well, and also there's something with Magna 5 that they do.
Yes.
There are some lines that we can't have Wi-Fi. We have to have
You have to have
copper.
copper
Yeah,
lines,
and
yep.
those are for the water system,
Elevators,
water system.
monitoring
Right.
systems, alarm systems, emergency phones, yeah, so regardless, we would be dealing with them, even if we switch. So ideally, I would like to hold off if, the quotes come in hopefully where I'd like, but
My experience is usually the existing one gives you a high quote.
I wouldn't be surprised. The only difference that, when I do get their quote is to note is that they will have those copper lines in it already. So if it is a little bit higher, I would have to take that into consideration, for that maintenance of the current and existing lines. So that wraps up the shared services for 66 Front Street. Going on to our other shared services, this is for the Bass Street for the police and the court. This is just contractual, $7,000 for utilities and $207 for the year for monitoring services. Next department is safety inspector or the building inspector's department. In personal services, we have the building inspector, we have the assistant building inspector, we have the fire inspector, and we have the part-time building inspector clerk. That to be said, the salaried individual, which is everyone but the part-time building inspector clerk, is getting that 2.5% increase. And the part-time clerk will get the 10-cent increase, and depending on where minimum wage goes to at the end of 2022, would go to that increase if it increases.
One thing that has come up is whether we need to have more hours for the building inspector. I know he is available, but,
We had that debate and I asked him and he said I've asked him if he was going to be, if he would extend, and do some time, because going from Wednesday to Monday is a long time.
Right.
For the public, especially if we start, especially in the summer months and whatever. And he said he would get back to me about whether or not he would be available to do that.
but we would have to put more money in. the
Yes, we
budget.
would. And
So-
then we also talked about possibly increasing the clerk hours, but that turned out to be,
Potentially not able to without offering her benefits, because that would be
Yeah.
over the part-time.
Let's see how
because
it-
she works 16 hours a week, I think it is. But
Yeah,
the
something
thing
like
is,
that.
she works 8 to 4, 2 days a week. But the other thing that she does is she staffs any planning or zoning
Zoning
meetings.
meetings, I know, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so.
that adds up the
And that
hours.
way, and then, so you have to be careful with that because you don't want that to go overnight. She doesn't want to work that many hours and, we don't want her to work that many hours. And a question whether or not that they, you know, what is useful for her to be there when he is not, you
Right.
know, so.
Okay, equipment, we have $1,500 for a map cabinet. I put this in there, but I do believe during our, department budget meeting, he said that it wouldn't be useful, unless there was an overhaul of the downstairs office, just because of rooming issues or.
Oh, yeah, there's no room down there.
Footprint. But we did have a map cabinet in the, village hall safe, in which we were able to put downstairs. So if he finds use in that, this $1,500 might not be something that we need budgeted for next fiscal year.
And we might, he had a proposal to redo the whole sort of down floor, you know, which we're not gonna do. You know, that's,
Yeah.
we're not gonna do, we may move, we don't know, and it's certainly,
Is there, I mean, you know, because I went through the plans, because I was doing, you know, looking for setbacks and that, and, you know, right of ways. And I went through the plans and, you know, it's rolls of plans in the bucket kind of thing is part of records management. You know, do they have to be down in their office? You know, I would think a lot of those are, you know, 20 years ago plans that you have to keep them, of course, because somebody can come in and look at them, but, you know, just thinking maybe they could there could be a spot for them upstairs with the other records, and then he would only keep, you know, the active ones he's working on.
well, there are already building records upstairs, so where they belong and how they'll be sorted will be, you know, be sorted out, because there are rules around that. kind of
No,
stuff.
but I just,
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
that downstairs, there's literally sitting in the furnace room.
Mhm.
And, you know, with,
And that's
With-
It's probably
with
not the
rotten-
best environment.
Right.
for
yeah,
that,
also, you know, the elastic bands are off and they're
Well, they all should be digitized, first off. That's,
probably, yeah,
all that should be digitized. So,
well, but at least they should be put somewhere.
So if we
moved,
moved them up to the floor where they're working, would they deal with it?
what, no, excuse me? I don't remember.
Well, they're in the, they may not, the people who are dealing with the papers may not be aware of this.
Oh,
stuff in
no.
the basement.
No, they're very well aware.
Of
This
the
is,
basement,
we
so.
did a whole thorough
Oh,
inventory.
okay,
of
including the
this, yeah.
basement, okay.
Yes,
All right.
they're aware of
Okay.
that.
So that, like I said, that map cabinet might be able to be eliminated for next fiscal year, seeing that we did have one that we found in the vault that was no use to the upstairs staff. Moving down to contractual, we have phone and internet for them downstairs. They currently have one line, as we speak. We have supplies, of $2,000, but this also includes a filing cabinet. I might have that twice, I'm sorry. Supplies, regular supplies of $2,000. The filing cabinet is below that for $500. So that's just the description error on that supplies line. Filing cabinet $500. They have Microsoft licensing, $270 a year, and training of $1,000. Oh, and then publicity. This is something that we haven't had in previous years, and it have had budget transfers and budget amendments to include it in this year. One being some expense on village, welcome to village, Ballston Spa signs. Those expenses have been put to publicity. That's why you can see the year-to-date actual is at 2625. I do believe the village administrator is working on additional welcome to the village signs, proposed cost of $5,500.
Yeah, the one on Fairground Avenue was.
Is the professional association, do they maintain those at all? Or they have
No,
other
but
signs?
those-
No, we have the signs where it's the business directory is.
Okay, not these signs.
No, I
Okay.
don't believe that's.
These
I
these
think
are
also
ours.
the sign in front of the library, the nice one that is rotting.
Ooh.
Because, you know, garden club gardens underneath it, and you take a look at it, and it's probably needs at least to be, you know, restored or something, or replaced.
I know there was something this past year, and it's probably not, maybe not even related, some service with the Boy Scouts, was that not? what
No, that was
sign-
the
That
bad
was in the
sign.
back.
Okay.
It was in the
Yeah,
back.
it probably would be in the library budget, but maybe it's something, I mean, maybe.
Well, it didn't come up as a concern of theirs.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing is that there's a sign outside the pool. And the person who, that pool area is in memory of somebody, and they're gonna come up with the center of it, but we're gonna provide the post. And the other place we need signs is Colonial Hills.
I've heard that was a concern. I'm not sure if that was included in that 5,500.
Well,
I believe that was
yeah.
just for thank you, Beth. Three
Yeah.
additional welcome to the village signs. So when you
Yeah.
approach those village limits.
That sign I was talking about, the library may not consider it one of their signs, because it's like between, it's near the Memorial Park, it's sort of between the Memorial Park and that, so I don't know. You can,
It
Oh,
says
yeah.
library,
I was
on
about to
it,
say,
right?
did it say.
no,
library?
it's a welcome to Ballston Spa. sign.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I'm
All
not
right,
sure if
all
that's
right,
one
so
of the.
it's not the
proposed ones to
library.
be.
It's
Okay,
not
but I
the-
think we need to consider the pool, and we
Yeah.
need to consider, at least we're gonna do partially for the pool, and we need to consider Colonial Hills.
Yeah, I think.
That's our responsibility.
I think Park and Tree was talking about a sign at Kelly that they were gonna include in their request.
I think I saw that, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
have it in front of me. I do,
It's-
maybe, but we can also talk about it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I-
Or Thursday, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the signs in this village overall are not
Right.
good quality. I mean, street signs missing, can't read them. But that's in the DPW budget, but
Yeah, this is more so, this particular line, publicity, from what I imagine from that is, hey, this is the village, so, if there are signs regarding streets, parking, so on and so forth, they're gonna go to a different department.
yeah, those go to street.
Mhm.
But, no, it's good to, I mean, it reflects when your signs are falling apart.
Okay, next department is pool. The pool personnel services, there was requested increases for the staff over there. And I can get to them in just one second.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant. Well, no, what was it, adopted 58 up to 63? Not that much increase, but
Yeah, okay, so,
projected is less because of COVID or?
Yep, and even the 2021 was less as well, because that was really the start of COVID there, so
There
that
was no
impacted
swim
And we
lessons.
didn't do less.
License, yeah.
So that to be said, requested increase for the director, $16.50 an hour. Assistant director, $14.25 an hour. Swimming instructors and lifeguards, $13.50 an hour. Okay, for requested equipment, they are requesting an AED. In previous years, they have been, I don't want to say gifted, but was able to utilize one from the EMS. We figured now is the time to get, our own pool AED. That's something that's needed over there. The pool director did get quotes on that, $1,400. Did you have something to say?
Didn't we talk about, well, we're not there yet. New chairs and tables.
Yeah, that would be coming out of this year's budget for them, because they do have
Oh, that's right.
additional leftover just because of how the year ended for
And we
them.
did, we were going to purchase new chairs, umbrellas out of this year's budget, and
Yeah.
weren't we going to talk about a couple of sinks in the.
Sinks and toilets, I think it's toilets.
Yeah,
in the
building.
building
needs.
stuff coming, but it's in this year's budget.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because they did
Yeah.
not spend.
Yeah, umbrellas or some sort of,
Yeah, they in the past, they've had no shade at all,
Right.
anywhere, so. that-
Including umbrellas for the lifeguards too, because
Right.
Oh,
they
yeah.
do not have an umbrellas and
Wow.
they're
I just
there
wonder
in the
if,
sun. the heat
I mean,
somewhere.
umbrellas are kind of, wind comes and
No,
If-
there's a certain,
the certain kind
Kind,
that will
yeah.
not,
right, but they'll,
yeah.
That and well, they're creating stands as well. Some of the lifeguard stands will have something for the umbrella to be put into.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be beneficial to not get the really light ones, but there's always that risk for them to fly away just based off of how the stand is.
Are we getting umbrellas for the kids? for the
There,
kids?
how many did we say that she could go and
I
get?
feel like we talked about a total of 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7, some of them for the
Yeah,
lifeguards.
'cause
and then
that's
some
the one
for
thing
the-
about,
7,
Some-
and
some for the
that
kids,
pool
right,
is really no shade.
Yeah, so there'd be umbrellas for both the staff and for the visitors, as well as some chairs for the visitors. as
right,
well.
and, right,
Okay, so, going to building improvements, there was resurfacing in there for $10,000. This is not full resurfacing of the pool.
What's the deal on the pool? Because we've talked about the pool in past years needing a lot of work, and then
The
they said it
RFP.
didn't, and 10,000 is to patch,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, I don't remember if you, remember the RFP that went out, 2 years ago? The cost came in at $250. We did have the Tedisco grant, that was $100,000, but that was over what we were intending that renovation to be. Well, that's the last I heard of any.
And then we
major
didn't spend the
renovations.
Tedesco grant on the pool, we spent it elsewhere, right?
no, we never, did we ever even get that?
The
Oh,
Tedesco
got
was, the
split
scope
up.
was changed to the village hall facade, and I remember it was, the scope was again changed, but I can't remember.
Got split up
We
between
never did
different,
the facade.
originally it was supposed to be split up between
Several
like 5
buildings, yeah.
departments, and then the pool issue came.
Yep.
And then it was gonna be spent on the pool, and then it didn't get spent on the pool, and then I lost
It
track.
was supposed to go to the facade, but then the facade came in way over as
I-
well, so
I
right now
think it's something,
Is it still there, waiting
I,
to be
I
spent?
don't, I think it's up in the air, I don't know if it's, yes, I will check
Yeah.
that. There
Yeah, they
was
did it.
something, a conversation, it's, that, because it was recharacterized, it's difficult to obtain, or they were getting some approvals to the dormitory authority, it was a very complicated
Yeah, I thought that
process.
happened.
I believe we got verbal change of the scope, and that was after the scope was changed to include the facade and the vault and all the retaining wall. But I believe the scope was then tried to be changed again to just include one of the 2 projects for Village Hall. That we said we only got verbal approval, we haven't gotten the written approval, but we still have this Tedesco grant of $100,000 that hasn't
Okay,
been, I mean, it's been awarded, but it hasn't been given and, or granted, and nothing's been done.
yeah,
with
because
it.
talking to the engineers, at least the vault, they thought could be done underneath the bid limit, which is 30, so, you know.
Yeah, it would fall within that.
We
Yeah.
do have to be careful about not, seeing that we have this $100,000 grant, and if you're saying there's a project that could be $30,000, sometimes the grant won't award any of the money or grant any of the money if it doesn't meet a certain threshold of the awarded.
Oh,
grant
well, that's
total.
just one part, but I'm just
Right.
saying that the vault could be, less than 30, and then the retaining wall is gonna
Well-
be more.
Well, you put it against retaining wall, whatever the overage is, you find money somewhere else.
Yeah, you take it out of fund balance or whatever to get, because
Yeah.
those need to be done. I mean, it would be great to do the facade, but we need to maybe get an estimate separate from the other items.
Well, structural elements come first.
Yeah, no,
Things-
no,
things
I'm
that-
saying
yeah.
vault, wall, then facade.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to, do that. If we could.
So the 10,000 for the pool reserve, that'll hold us for a year or whatever.
Should.
I do believe there
Overlay.
is a pretty decent leak there, and I'm assuming this would hold, attempt to slow down the leak at least.
I think, yeah, we're gonna have to talk about pool at some point.
Any pool grants out there?
I haven't
Well-
seen any. I know there are grants though for buildings like Village Hall and DPW and police stations and
Mhm.
all of that stuff. But we gotta explore our sources and prioritize.
Right.
Okay, so the contractual for swimming pool, we have sanitation, water quality tests, utilities at $5,000, phone and internet at 700, repair and maintenance, 12,000.
Does somebody else, is that a contractor do the water test or is that, I thought our guys.
I
did that.
believe there is an annual test that they have to do that's required by the health department, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
And so that's what that is.
Yeah, because
for.
I think the normal testing DPW does.
They.
Every day. Yeah, they do during the swim
Yes,
season.
they
yeah.
do.
So the repair and maintenance is in addition to 10,000, what other repair and maintenance is equaling 12,000?
Yeah, so the 10,000 is just the resurfacing of the
Yeah.
pool. So that's why it's classified under building improvements. The $12,000 is for, okay, so the pump last year failed on us, fell over, whatever happened. They needed to get the materials to
All right,
repair it.
so that's typically what it'll cost
Yeah.
annually.
I mean, if a toilet does flood and they need to replace it right then and there, that's gonna come out of that budget. So it's just kind of all those
All the other
small, yes, yep. That also includes, chemicals as well.
stuff. Okay.
So that sums up the pool. The next department is the celebrations department.
So,
Under,
I'm sorry, so the big increase there is the salaries,
well, the salaries is what, about $5,000, yep,
and then the,
10,000 for the
That's 10,000.
resurfacing.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
okay, sorry.
Okay, are we set with that?
Mhm.
Okay, so celebrations, under celebrations is some of our fun events here. We have Memorial Day Parade, $4,000, Holiday Parade, 2,000, Holiday Decorations, 1,000. And these are all consistent with prior years.
What are the expenses on the parades? Is that,
I'll look, because we haven't had them in a while.
yeah, I know. I was just wondering,
Police would be covered under their budget.
Correct, yep.
right, so,
Let me just get some more.
We don't have a village float.
I was just wondering what,
Rental of lights, that's what I have for here.
light. rental.
You mean what, street?
Street lights, DOT
decorations?
signs. I mean, we're not talking about the actual decorations and all of that's done by, I'm assuming the BSBPA does a lot of the organization of this, but this is to actually, for the safety of the individuals there. So the street lights, the DOT sign saying that the roads are gonna be blocked at this certain hour, and so forth for those. Like I said, we haven't had many expenses for them. This is just consistent for what was budgeted in prior years.
And we spent that budget prior years.
Yeah, be interesting to look at
Yeah.
what.
Most of what we spent in prior years is kind of related to Swimming Under the Stars, which is also under this department. As you can see there, 2021 actual is 4430. That's between the signs and expenses for the parade, but most of it's for Swimming Under the Stars. We've never really come up to what we had budgeted for these, but these were just the programs that we've had previously, and
Right.
that's
Okay.
just been held for this
Alright.
year. So the holiday decorations, Easter egg hunt, this is a lot, if we do this, $200 gets received from Milton. Swimming Under the Stars, again, this is the one program or one celebration that we do pretty much have consistently every year. We will get $500 from Milton if this event happens. Fallen Lease, we have in
It's sort of
there,
traditional contributions from them.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Winterfest, and we do have $2,000 for flags. That's just to,
We rotate the flags, a third, and a third. Change.
So what's
every year.
Winterfest for $100?
well, most of it is labor of the DPW, setting up that hill.
That's
that
the
snow
hill.
But, so the expenses itself are pretty minimal. That's why it's only $100, but we haven't had Winterfest in 2 years now. So,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I would think it'd be more than $100 for
Yeah.
the
Well,
overtime.
for
Well, the
labor it is.
overtime with the
Well,
DPW
that
does get
goes in the
associated.
DPW
Yeah, yeah,
budget. It's that's in the DPW budget.
correct. It's not gonna
No,
get
I remember,
associated.
I remember Larry talking about, he wanted to know what each of these events actually
So
cost.
we were talking about maybe, we don't know what we're gonna do, but maybe do something different than Winterfest, which is so erratic because of the weather dependency, do some other winter
Okay,
thing. And I wonder if we want to budget something for that.
Yeah, I mean, what, just looking around what other towns are doing, you know, they do have, you know, something that goes around, you know, a horse with a sleigh,
Okay.
kids take
Like-
the rigs around.
Like I'd support like $2,000 as a placeholder, not that.
okay.
I don't know.
I mean,
Again,
we
I
can
don't know
always
what
put it
all
in
our
for the request
revenue
then.
is. We're gonna have to look
Yeah.
at the revenue.
But,
Mhm.
you know, they have various activities and, you know,
And where? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can, talk about, and within this category, we can move things around. We can, move things around.
Looks
if we
like there's
have
some
to.
extra here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as we get somebody to be, in charge of these things.
yeah, that's. the
That's
issue.
always the issue. That was the big issue, well, one of the big issues with the Winterfest. Started out, there were 30 people who volunteered, and it ended up getting down to 4 people, and one of them died. So, where is the 9/11 service?
That's volunteered besides
So
DPW
that's-
time and labor.
So that's not.
No, we don't have
okay.
any matching funds for any contractual expenses.
Okay.
I mean, like the light thing and all.
That's all supplied by the organizers.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Getting there. Last page.
Zoning, we're not having them come talk on Thursday, right? I don't think we did. Okay.
No.
Okay, so for the request for zoning personnel services, we do have a 2.5% increase for salaried individuals. And I do believe that I have some money budgeted for our alternatives. Previous years, they've never really, I request them to fill out a form that tells us that the meeting that they're in, sign it off, and send it over to us, and we verify that. Previously, they've never done that, so I want to make sure that we do have this budget for, years, and of course, when we get that form
For
filled
the,
out.
for the
Alternatives,
yeah. It's been.
So we
you know,
have up that process,
Huh?
but
In other words, the alternates don't bother
I
to
didn't
charge.
know I had to fill that out, and I didn't get paid for several years.
yeah,
So
so I
that's a
think we talked
complicated
about
process,
this
yeah, so-
about a year ago. Yeah, we don't know unless we're notified that you are an alternative. And so we have.
It's
kind
not
of-
worth the hassle of paperwork, that's, yeah. The one, you have, the comprehensive plan, that's the balance to get that
So
done.
that's what was requested from zoning. I'm sorry, comprehensive plan, not
Yeah,
zoning.
comprehensive plan.
$30,000 for that. I do recall that the RFP for professional services for that came in at
43, 2.
The
and
total?
rate-
No,
Yeah,
well,
They already had,
in this year, hold on, I have it in
For this-
the text. They're working on a contract and they're getting this,
I
they
didn't think
have
it was-
managed to
get it down.
43, to exactly what we have, except Julia then told me she spent $100 someplace else, but we're not telling them we'll find it. 43, hold on. The exact amount that they still have remaining, 43,200.
So that's
In
what
this
they're
fiscal
paying
year.
Behan.
Right, in this fiscal year, and they're gonna bifurcate their contract, I guess, and then 30,000 in the next fiscal year to finish off the comprehensive plan.
Now, wait a second, that the total to the consultant is 42,
43,
or 43.
2 in
Then-
this, that's what we have left in this fiscal year, and
Right,
that's
but
what's
what's
going
the-
to go to them.
Right, but what's their total contract?
I think, as I understand it,
I don't think it was that high.
It's gonna be two separate contracts.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
I didn't think it was 42
One for
plus
this year,
30.
one for next year,
Was
or one?
43,
Two.
2.
No, but then the amount that they want, the total contract to Behan is how much? Do you remember?
It was much higher and they got
No,
them down.
I
to-
know they got it down, but what's the
But you're
final
saying it's
number?
The
73
final
too.
number is
No, it's-
43.2.
That's the contract. So how much do we have this year and how much do we have next year?
43.2 this
Is this
year
year.
and 30 next
And
year.
so we don't know what the 30 is for yet because it's
It's
already.
for whatever
covered this-
services are
okay.
going to carry
All
over.
right, so like
tonight.
zoning.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well,
is do we
no,
have-
zoning is not included in this. This is 30,000. They did not and would not say they.
Well, but
they-
what
No,
do
no,
you
no,
think the
43.2 is for not zoning, but the comprehensive plan, and that's
Right,
covered this year's funding.
right.
43.2 is what we have this
So
year.
th- so
So
they
the
have
30 is not, what's 30 for?
That is
Next year, because the
Right.
comprehensive plan is gonna go beyond June 1st of
Right.
2022, and they hope to wrap it up and end it in
Yeah, but it's,
September.
It's the rest of the deliverables.
It's the rest of the deliverables. Thank you.
I still don't get it, what the total amount going
Liz,
to
I
be.
think they're going to give us two contracts.
Okay,
That's what,
but the
right,
total,
Marilyn?
Yes,
Isn't
that
that
is
the,
correct.
thank
but the
you.
total of the two contracts is what
Is
now?
what?
43 and 30, so it's
Oh, it
40,
is?
it's
It's
43.
73,000.
All right. so-
73,000.
Separate contracts, 2 separate groupings of deliverables.
But it was that high, 70? The total
They
cost
haven't
would be?
done anything
No,
this
it wasn't
year.
that high.
No, it wasn't. It was much lower, because I was looking, I mean, I helped
was.
with the review. So I
And of
don't
course, they
see,
wouldn't be paid 43.2 this year because they haven't started, right?
yeah,
Well, they're gonna start April 1st.
yeah, they're gonna start, but
So
that, to me, it wasn't that high, the total.
Well, they can't possibly
There.
spend 43 too in 2 months.
right, they're not gonna,
No, I know that, but
but that's what we have this year.
But the contract's
So-
gonna have the services rendered in this fiscal year, so it could potentially be done before June
yeah,
1st.
it's not, you know, that they split it, it's what the total is to complete.
Well, I
the
don't,
total.
Why would there be? two
Comprehensive plan, and I don't think it was that high. That's what I remember, I can look. but-
well, they're going to be, this is what we were told that they're going to be looking for. Are they?
That's what they requested.
And-
They are talking, are you talking on Thursday or someone from your committee?
I'm not gonna talk, I'm hoping Karen would be here.
Okay.
Okay.
I've already
Okay.
given you the briefing. of
Yeah, that's what,
we've
yeah,
done.
exactly. That's what we have in there for
And the
that.
only thing is, I don't know what the final deliverables were because Karen was taking care of that.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Could we get maybe a half page of describing what's going on with this?
We did, we handed it.
You
That's
have
what I
it?
got from
To the
them.
last trustees meeting, I handed it to Terry. It was a one pager on this, on the comprehensive planning steering committee. And it was a series of bullets, which you know.
Oh, no, he's talking about
With
the dollars.
money,
He's
the
talking
two
about how-
contracts and what they include
the-
and what the.
yeah, the contracts, that's what the.
We should get the contracts this week.
Okay, my concern is that the comprehensive plan is scheduled to be completed when?
No, I think,
In October
the
or
fall.
November.
October, so there's still 7 months in 2023.
which is what the $30,000.
Then what's the 43.2
It's
for?
for what it's going to be done between April 1st and the end.
No,
of June.
I'm
In
saying
June?
we
Really?
need money to do the zoning.
I know, that's not anywhere here.
No,
That's not,
But
that's,
it
What-
goes
how-
in this budget.
right, and we
Right.
haven't talked about that yet.
Okay,
This is just what
that's what I'm
comprehensive
getting
has.
at, is
Okay.
that we
That's
pay
what
for a
I-
comprehensive plan and then we pay.
separately for zoning,
Okay.
and they did not, let me just get this out to answer Liz's question. And they said specifically that they did not want to give us any idea about, what the cost of zoning was. That was a whole separate entity.
Yeah, so the $30,000 is what the comprehensive steering committee requested. Zoning is right underneath it. What zoning requested is the $400 for supplies and $600 for training.
That's what the zoning
Yes.
board
Board.
But
Yeah,
because
that's
some-
not zone, that's not
No,
what
we're,
we're
we're talking about
About
consulting.
to do zoning,
Zoning.
redo the
Yeah,
zoning.
nothing was requested. to-
Right,
Okay.
so they're not,
So
so
guess-
in that first round of RFPs, we asked them to quote what zoning would cost as a separate phase. And I mean, it ranged, but all the way up to 50,000 was the highest. The lowest was around 20, so somewhere in that range, 20 to 50,000 is what zoning, I would put 30 in as
For zoning related consultants.
rezoning,
Okay,
basically.
rezoning, okay.
So just for now, but we can check what's going on with their numbers, because
Yeah, I'm confused because I thought that 43.2 was to do the whole comprehensive plan, to get it done, not another 30,000, because now we're talking about 73,200, which is what MJ wanted originally. Could have just continued, but we forced them to cut to meet our budget, which was much less, like 42 or 45,000.
Mhm.
So now with this, we started all over, and now we're back up at 7. It's like, I'm looking at you, but I don't think
Yeah, I
it's not
know.
your deal, but I don't understand how we got back to 73,000 when we weren't at 73,000 a year ago.
well, I have,
Um,
I have a copy of the proposal, but then they negotiated that down supposedly. So anyways,
I didn't realize there's two
Well, we
contracts. I thought
talked-
this is one
we talked to
contract for the whole
Karen.
thing.
Karen Martell should be able to straighten this out.
On Thursday.
Is she
Hopefully.
coming on Thursday?
I that I don't know off the top of
I
my
mean,
head.
I'm a little concerned if she's obligated us to $30,000.
Well, we don't.
No, I don't
Additional.
think she is.
No, I mean, they are negotiating a contract, but they need us to sign it,
But
to approve it and sign it. So nothing's gonna happen until,
there were other, at least in the first round, there were other companies that were going to do the comprehensive plan for like 40-something thousand dollars. Good companies, perfectly fine companies. It looks like we're now back up to 70-something thousand to do just the comprehensive plan, which is,
actually, MJ was only 57 for the
so this
comprehensive
is
plan.
just another 30 beyond what I thought we were gonna spend on the comprehensive plan. So I'm just surprised. And
Yeah, the highest was Barton and Judas at 73
Oh.
in the first round. I
oh,
don't have,
MJ was only 50 in the first round? Are you sure? I thought they were the 70 or something. Anyway,
we'll figure it
I'm
out.
surprised.
So that to be said, that comprehensive plan is another subject that hopefully can be straightened out by Thursday. But zoning related contractual, they requested $400 in supplies and $600 for training.
Supplies?
Yep,
Oh,
just,
code books?
yeah, just this year, that's what Christine threw me under the bus for. They did purchase $100 worth of books, updated books, that got taken out of zoning.
Yep, I remember.
Planning, they didn't request any funding, but I did put in similar to what zoning has. So we have the zoning personnel services, 2.5% increase for the salaried, and as well as some additional money for alternates.
They don't have any money in there for training, because they have mandatory training.
They didn't request anything to me.
It's a good point, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's only, like 4 hours a year, but they usually go to a
Is
conference.
it folded into other training? Like
No, it
the
shouldn't
village
be.
has training and then you can make it available to planning members?
I think, I don't know, usually it's in their budget, right?
I haven't, like I said, I haven't received any expenses for planning for training. I do know zoning just went the other day, I believe, to some zoning training.
You know what it is because it was online probably. And
It could have been.
and then with, if you go out to a meeting, it's gonna be, depending on where the meeting is, if it's up.
Did we want to match what zoning has for 600?
Well, maybe
for
I would-
or
training
just
for
ask
planning?
them.
Well, or ask them, but, I think as far as I remember, there's mandatory training every year for planning and.
There's,
zoning
I mean, on
members.
the Ballston planning board, a lot of training. I don't know, actually, I don't know the budget, but some of it's just offered to us, but I'm not aware of the cost of where it comes from, I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never mind.
Okay, so I just did put $600 for training under planning, and I'll just confirm with planning chair what they might need for budgeted training So that being said, that wraps up what I had for the planning department. And then last, I fixed it on the ones that went out to the public, but if you printed your version on your computer, it's special items, not the planning department again. Sorry, that was
Yeah.
column error. So for special items, this is for our general liability and commercial insurance that we do have insurance through. We're actually in the process of doing the application right now.
Went up. Is that from an estimate or from them or?
I don't know where it's gonna go, honestly, but that is what we have requested in here. Again, I won't know until we get the application, which should be done by this week, put in, and then they'll be searching for providers for each section of liability that we might need. So last year it did go up because of cyber liability increased on us. A lot of municipalities were the targets of online ransom, and we don't want to be a part of that. But so liability coverage has kind of increased for the municipality. Again, I won't know where we are until we get you know,
So this
proposals
is sort of
back.
your best guess right now.
Yeah.
Until we get the final number from them.
Municipal association dues, we do have some general dues that we partake in, one of them being NICOM. This should incorporate any potential membership dues that the village as a whole might join. This is not to be confused with department association dues. Judgment and claims, I have 5,000 in there just as a older place.
What is that really?
We were lucky so far this year that we haven't had any, I guess, payouts for any claims with our attorney.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you if we had any payouts for insurance, Eli, but not disability or anything, but just. I mean,
Workers' comp?
not salary stuff, but just this insurance, Marshall and Sterling.
That's just general liability.
Right. Have we had
insurance.
any payouts because of any problems?
Well, just the other day when we were talking with DPW, we had the insurance claim for central garage for windstorm damage. Is that what you're
Okay,
referring to?
right.
Yeah.
Or what, anything, I don't know.
Okay, yeah,
if we've had-
we've had, you know, damages for equipment, buildings that we do get
Okay.
a check for to repair. Then we have taxes on village, 38,000. The numbers there for the year-to-date actual and the projected is kind of a little bit off. In January, we get the bills from the town and county, so that projection there might be low, might be high, and that.
That's primarily property tax for the
Yeah.
property we own in Milton and Saratoga.
We pay taxes to all municipalities above us. We're not exempt, so.
Yeah.
That surprised me.
And Malta.
Did not know
Yeah.
Yeah,
that.
Malta, Saratoga Springs, Milton County, we pay it all. We're low man on the totem pole, so we pay everyone above us while it's about the same.
That's
Opposite.
somehow that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, you'd think, but
Yeah,
So it's property tax.
yep, property tax.
yeah, but I mean, you think there'd be some sort of
Yeah, I
mutual,
think so, but.
they don't pay us taxes,
Correct, yep.
but we
That's
pay
not fair.
them taxes.
Especially being this county seat.
It's
Okay,
a good deal if you can get it.
and
And then last year, we had contingency. I just had the standard $100,000 that we've had every year for the past several years now.
yeah, I know, we never used to have it. and
So we've been using it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at
Yeah.
It's,
26,000 you mean for the year? I
Yeah.
could be wrong on that.
it's,
The asphalt. So last meeting I asked about like the remote access installation. We said it could go somewhere in this constellation of stuff. We also said that, oh, we're gonna wait for the library plan, but it may not be sort of library centric. It might be like more village centric. I'm just wondering, do we want to be roughly like installed somewhere around 6,000? And last time we said we'd wait for the
Well,
library.
What if, I guess I'm not understanding.
he's
It
talking
would
about,
be like a permanent
Yeah, but
instead
if
of
we
this.
have, okay, well, then I don't, if we have this and it's working,
Not
what-
working out.
You know, you have to, well, first of all, I think you have to give people, you have to give it some time for it to be worked out. I don't think you go to, you scrap all of this and then get a totally new system.
Well, the other reason to have a permanent thing is that then other people could use it. You're not lending out a laptop or microphones to other groups. Just any group in this room can flick a switch and now they have remote access. So it's just more usable. It's higher quality. I think it's worth the investment. I think a lot of different groups would use it. It'd be easier to use. Like, you know, again, it's going to be hard to get this as good as a real system would be. And I think a big advantage is it wouldn't just be us using it, it would be any group that comes into the room could have that. And, you know, Arts Committee, I know does remote, and probably, well, Planning Board, all these boards could do it.
Well, I guess I think we need to wait until we see how the budget falls.
Right.
And see where we're at.
Okay, put it as a
All
add
right.
alternate.
All right, and then the other piece, you know, I've been harping on is looking at a crosswalk by Doubleday Woods. I've been talking to DOT about, they're gonna do an assessment in the next couple of months. And if they think there's enough use, and there may not be though, but if they think there is, they would put in at least the equipment. They'd want us to put in the ramps, the ADA ramps. So that wouldn't be a huge cost if we do it, you know, internally.
That makes
And-
the, you know, stuff to potentially slow down traffic and.
Right, it would be the
Tracks.
flashing light thing. It would have to be like a really high visibility thing on Route
Oh,
50.
for Route 50, but
Yes.
also we talked about additional signs, painting the crosswalks. you
That
know,
was all budgeted in the streets department
That's
and
in there
DPW,
already.
so we did put 15,000 for your request and I believe the streets department.
Oh, for
Check on that.
crosswalk?
Yep.
Oh,
because
well,
of
that
what
was
you
for
were
the
talking
RFP.
about last-
Or, all right, right, okay,
Last
Okay,
meeting,
yeah.
as well as signs, and we've always had.
If
money for
DOT
signs.
ends up
right.
doing it,
And
then
we-
you could use that for the other striping and signing.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
can ask town of Ballston, we can ask who's in the town of Ballston to help pay for this too.
Where
We should ask
exactly
them
is
to pay
this?
for all of them.
Well,
Um,
DOT would
It's in their
probably be the
town.
one
The-
telling us
prob-
exactly where. it
Probably
should
the
go.
most, like, what does it go, Rosewood Court. It's where there's Doubleday Woods, and the sidewalk goes south of Doubleday Woods, where it ends, like, before the cemetery. That's across from, I think Rosewood is it called, Court?
No, that's,
Road,
Is that where?
it's
Next-
just.
next to
it's just-
Stewart's.
It's
Next
near
to
Stewart's,
Stewart's.
it's not
That's-
all the way up, the
that's-
Stewart's a little further south, but the cemetery stops the sidewalk, so
Yeah.
it would be, but almost at Stewart's. Closer to Stewart's than Doubleday, but
So it's not gonna be on a corner?
no,
It will be on a street
It would
corner.
It will be on a
Yeah,
street
it
corner.
would.
okay.
Yeah,
I
whatever,
thought that
whatever
was-
that
I
street
thought it
is,
was-
Rosewood,
Rosewood or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and it would be across.
Right, and it's
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the sidewalk.
And I don't know if the CDP
DOT.
would want, no, I mean, the bus stop,
Uh,
they may wanna, you know,
Who knows?
Well,
But DOT, but I-
DOT has nothing to do with the bus.
Yeah, but I got on we both were looking at Google Maps on our phones, and he knows where we're talking about, somewhere between here and Doubleday.
yeah. Because
So
And-
we have that in the DPW.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
you did add
requested
that, okay.
discussion that we
Okay,
had with
yes,
them.
Yeah.
we did. I remember
All right,
that.
thank you.
Because that, basically, if you live at Doubleday, you have to walk down to East and West High and double your trip if you want to go to Stewart's. If you don't, just cross the road.
And you
which
still
is-
have to cross the road down there.
Well, but you
But
have at
there's-
least a
at least
crosswalk
There's a
there,
light.
a light and a
Yeah.
crosswalk. Otherwise,
Okay,
there's no way for those folks to get across the street.
Okay.
But ultimately, if you're waiting for DOT to do it.
Well, it's the first step,
yes.
because if they're willing.
Well,
to
I'm
put-
saying you don't necessarily need to budget it in this budget year. So, if you
For the
didn't
Well,
want
to
to,
run and do it this.
Are we talking about the crosswalks? still?
if they end up saying, yes, it qualifies, then,
It
When
still
will
costs
we
us
know
something.
that?
yeah.
It's gonna be a few months, though.
Well, it wouldn't be
So-
until next year if they decide to do it.
Oh, you mean wouldn't get installed till next year?
Yes.
Because they.
So we're taking out the requested 15,000.
No, I would leave it in there in case they don't agree.
Yeah, because they may say.
But it might be a year until we find out.
No,
No, they'll tell us.
No, they'll tell us. It'll be a year before it
Okay.
gets installed because
Right.
it gets on a queue.
once a request is put in, they have 90 days to respond.
Right.
Okay.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That
Okay,
was very thorough.
all right, thank you, Julia.
Great job.
Okay, all right, so we are, and we have everything in for. Right. This
We
is
have committee on
Thursday.
the arts, we have park and street, we
And we
might
have
not
all
have
of
steering
them.
committee, but that might be up in the air. Maybe if we can schedule someone, we will, to actually
A
speak
what?
on, steering committee, comprehensive plan steering committee. I'm not sure if we
Oh.
have someone scheduled for Thursday. I'll
Thursday.
double check on that. And if not, if we can get someone in, we'll see if they have time.
But you have something written from them.
Yes, correct,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
But I'm just going over what we have on Thursday. So we have those two groups potentially steering committee. And then we have the nonprofits that you're gonna be representing, and the only other additional village hall departments would be Kelly Park, Woodsville Park, Iron Spring that we'll
Yeah.
talk about. Yep.
And you have everything you need from all of these, from
Yeah.
all of these.
Yeah,
Okay.
whoever was gonna submit is submitted,
Okay,
and the arts committee.
and
has.
you've given that to Julie.
think
I have a
so.
few. I had to go
Touch
over.
base.
I
Maybe
think I
we'll touch
CC'd you on
base.
everything, but yeah, all right,
Okay.
I'll
I
check.
know Jen had some that I never got, so she forwarded.
Well, if you're gonna make a sheet similar to that, then
I'll reach out to you just to make
Yeah.
sure.
Most of them just kept it
The same, I did notice
Yeah.
that some of
You
them
have
requested higher. but they-
BACC, Bark, they both asked for a little more.
Okay,
That might be it.
And I'll
Alright.
reach out to you
Okay.
the next day.
Okay.
okay.
Are we all set?
Thank you
right.
very much.
You-
we don't have to vote on that, right?